Good evening. We are back. We are live. It's 8 p.m. It's Thursday, the 25th of January, and we're going to be discussing all things Arsenal. We're going to have a review back to the Arsenal Crystal Palace game on Saturday, where we come out 5-0 victors. We're going to review ahead to the Nottingham Forest game. Going to look even pencil ahead to the Liverpool game, and then we're going to have a transfer deadline finale show. So obviously, always as all usual, I've got three fantastic guests who have started off with me tonight. So we're going to introduce them. Charlie, good evening, mate. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Hope everyone is all good, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, it is definitely good to be back, mate. And we're back with a bang and back with a win, thank God.
Yeah, 100%. Good performance as well. It's all we needed.
Definitely, mate. And we'll definitely get into the conversation around that very much soon. Good evening, Jonesy. Back on Saturday and back with a bang.
Yeah, it was good to be back over there. It's the first game back since I think October. So due to my knee, but yeah, it was good. I said to myself, I'll take it easy, but waking up the next morning, no, it wasn't easy. So, but yeah, it was good to be back. Great victory as well.
Yeah, it weren't easy. I was very much in a sore way on the Sunday. I weren't sure whether though it was a bit of the old flu or bit. I think it was a mixture of both. But yeah, plenty of drinks were had on that day, and it was a great day. And good evenings, Georgie boy. Sadly, he wasn't there Saturday, but he was supporting the ladies' team against Everton. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yeah, it was. I was a bit torn because I was offered a carvery if the Arsenal Everton game didn't go ahead, and then it went ahead, so I was a bit gutted, really. But glad we got the win.
You can never turn down a carvery, can you?
No, but no, I'm all good. Good to be back.
Good man. And obviously a massive warm welcome to everyone else in the chat. Feel free to kind of drop your comments. Feel free to obviously ask any questions. And we'll obviously be mixing with you guys throughout the show. So obviously on Saturday, we had our first game back in the Premier League since Fulham on New Year's Eve. A result that obviously didn't go our way, where we lost 2-1. This was very much a must-win game, considering obviously the performances of late. Our last victory actually come at Brighton, didn't it? Back on, I think, the 14th or 15th of obviously December. So it was a must-win game. And Charlie, what was your thoughts going into the game? Because we was creating a lot of chances. We was creating a massive amount of chances, but we weren't scoring any.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was pretty nervous. I can't lie, because I could see us doing the same thing again, creating bucket loads of chances and just not taking them. And to be fair, I mean, the first half, like, we didn't really create much, but the one thing we did look dangerous from was set pieces, and we had a few before we actually scored. And I was like, yeah, we're definitely scoring from a set piece. And it's not just us recently that can't defend set pieces. Like, there seems to be loads of teams that can't defend set pieces. Obviously, as the game grew on, we got more chances. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't great open play wise. It weren't great again, to be fair, until the second half. But it was nice to score 5 goals in the end. We needed it, and hopefully now the boys can push on.
Yeah, I think I'll go to Jones next. So I think pretty much what you kind of said there was what we was kind of saying in the stands for most of the game, weren't it, Jonesy? Even at 3-0, it didn't feel like a 3-0 game, but it was a weird situation because I didn't think we was anywhere near our fluent best. But at the same time, well, let's be frankly honest, Crystal Palace are in a lot of trouble at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on around the club, and we kind of profited on that, I think. And especially in the last couple of minutes, once them banners went up, the players' heads just seemed to drop.
Yeah, no, it was like I say, even at halftime, we were thinking, how the hell are we 2-0 up? You know, because we haven't played great. And if it wasn't for them corners and them set pieces, we would have been thinking the same thing as we was against Fulham, that all these chances and we can't put them away. So, but it was nice, you know, I think we kind of needed it. We kind of needed a team to roll over, if I can say, roll over for us. You know, normally we have to face these teams with low blocks and it takes ages to penetrate them, and then they come back at us and we lose. But I think it's nice. It's good confidence for the players as well to get a 5-0 win at home. Just hopefully they can push on from it as well. It's just, but Palace, I don't know how anybody can support a team like Palace. And that's no disrespect. I know we've got a couple of guys who we, you know, good mates, but they're just a team with no direction. And it's, I would hate to, I know as much as we bitch and moan about Arsenal and this and that, but sometimes we've got to think we are quite lucky to support who we support. But yeah, what was it? Pyro for pros. Yeah, that was a good one, boys.
I think there's some kind of interesting comments there. I think in terms of, I think when you look at the Premier League right this moment of time, and if we're being really honest, I think when you look at probably the bottom 8 to bottom 10 teams, you sit there and think, like, you look at the quality at the moment within them teams, and you look at Liverpool, Bournemouth the other day, and these teams just roll over. They just get their belly rubbed, don't they, at the moment? And there seems to be a massive divide, and it seems to be getting bigger and bigger in terms of obviously the bigger clubs to the smaller clubs. And I think how much we find it hard to go out and buy that striker. I think all these teams are finding it hard to go out and buy many players, if I'm being totally honest with
you. Yeah, definitely.
Going over to you, George. I know you weren't at the game on Saturday, but obviously with the build up to the game, what was you kind of looking for in terms of the team selection? Was it pretty much how you expected it?
Yeah, I was hoping Martinelli would be on the bench because I've been saying it for absolute ages. I think Martinelli's more dangerous when he comes off the bench. Julian, not that I know what I'm on about, but he did come off the bench. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Zinchenko. I wasn't really worried about Zinchenko playing against a team like Palace. And I really don't mean to disrespect Palace, but they're awful. They're just, like you say, they've got a lot of problems around the club. But it was one of those games I thought, if we score one, I can see us. It was either we was going to win 1-0 towards the end, or we was going to absolutely wallop them. So it was quite funny because I did watch the game at Meadow Park, but as soon as 2 minutes before the women started, I had to run back into the stand. So I had to, but yeah, I was quite happy with the team generally.
Cool, brilliant. And obviously a big warm welcome to Mr. Sam Wilson himself. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. I think just furthering on anybody's point, I think it was I think we couldn't have picked a better team to kind of have to bounce back again. I think if we'd have... Yeah, I don't know. In that first half, looking at it, I think if we'd have been playing a team that wasn't the level of Palace, I don't think we'd have been able to maybe go 2-0 up at half-time. Because, like's mentioned, I don't think we really did a great deal other than score the 2 goals, which are great to score. It's really good to see when you're not playing well, but you can still score. But yeah, I think it was just a perfect team to build a confidence back up and kind of push on from there now. And hopefully we're over that little couple of games where things weren't so great.
Yeah, I think you're perfectly right there, Sam. I think it was a good game. I think I was pretty confident from the get-go that we would get the 3 points Saturday, knowing the situation which is going on, obviously, over at Crystal Palace. I think it was more about how we kind of approached the game. I don't think it answers a lot of questions, if I'm being frankly honest, which is quite weird. It's probably quite a weird comment that when you've just won 5-0. But I think the Nottingham Forest game is the game that we're going to where the questions will be answered. Because for me, that's probably the gel. That will be the game that will send us to Liverpool. Because send us to Liverpool in the fashion that we need to be going into that game. And if we lose that game, I don't think it matters if we beat Liverpool or not. I think if we lose that game, I think we're pretty much, obviously, I wouldn't say out of the title race, but you'd have to say that we'd have to go on and win nearly every game between now and the end of the season. So for me, Forest is a massive game. And I think that's the game where you're going to look at and think, do you know what? That Palace game did sort out some of these players. If they don't go and win that game, then we're looking at the other direction and saying, well, maybe them 5 goals kind of papered the cracks. Which we've been seeing over the last few weeks. But I think we're going to look ahead to the Nottingham Forest game, but I think it's going to be an interesting game, that one. Just going back to you, Charlie, in terms of kind of the set piece situation, because it's becoming one of our strengths. But what's quite interesting for me is I think our set pieces have been quite bang average lately. And we decided to change the corner kick taker. And Declan Rice obviously decided that from obviously being chosen to take some set pieces, and obviously it worked into great effect. Is this something we probably need to do a little bit more often now? Because we do seem, like the shot count, the corner count is always quite high as well.
well, like you say, we seem to mix it up a bit in the sense of we actually beat the first man from a corner, which is always a bonus. There weren't no Leandro Trossard taking a corner either, which is also a bonus. And what was actually clever about the first one was when the ball was whipped in, Trossard actually blocks off Anderson, which means he can't attack the ball, which allows Gabriel just to coast into the space. Now, I don't know if that is a case of it just happened in the moment or if it was worked on the training ground. But the second one to me looked like it was definitely worked on because White standing in front. I actually think the second one's a foul. And the only reason I say that is because there was one that was given against, I think it was the Luton Burnley game, where the goalkeeper was blocked off from a very similar situation. And that wasn't given as a foul, but that was a foul as well. And they're both fouls. Obviously, I'm not going to complain because it's nice that one actually went in our favour. As much as it was a shit goal because, I mean, Gabriel completely mishits it and it just goes in off of Henderson. But you could see that because we're not scoring in open play, really, that they're working on set pieces, which is good. It's a shame that we can't defend them at the other end, to be fair, because if we could defend set pieces, it would be decent, wouldn't it? But, you know, one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, because I think set pieces are an interesting situation for us. We're probably one of the highest teams in terms of converting set pieces, but I think when you look at our corner count to what we actually score, I think it should be expected that we kind of do profit from at least one or two. And we do set the corners we seem to profit from have always been late in games, which is quite an interesting one. But I thought it was really good to see Declan Rice kind of mix it up a little bit. And I think that's what we need to do moving forward. Just get different people taking the corner kicks at times, because at that point it confuses the team as well, don't it? Because they'll think Declan Rice is going to be going into some area and he's actually taking the corner kick, and it just throws teams. So pretty much I think like we need to be looking at that. Another interesting stat for you, and I brought this up on Ryan's show the other day. I don't know if any of you watched it. If you didn't, I'm going to ask you this question now. When was the last time we scored a direct free kick?
Martin Odegaard against Burnley.
2021.
Yeah, Martin Odegaard against Burnley.
Yeah. Interesting. There's an interesting one. And yet again, we've always been renowned to have decent kind of free kick takers throughout the years. That's quite an interesting stat when you think it's 2024 now. It's something, another area that we need to look at improving probably over the period of time. It was just an interesting one for me. That's quite a while ago now that we haven't scored a direct free kick. So hopefully, I don't even know who to take it now. It probably would be Martin Odegaard, wouldn't it?
I think it was the Martin Odegaard one against Burnley. I think the last one before I can remember was the Granit Xhaka one against Chelsea, but that was during the COVID era. Yeah. So I think it was the Martin Odegaard against Burnley when we were in the relegation zone, when we got slapped 5-0 by City, and then we went on that run of games.
Yeah, that's the last one. Interesting. Just thought I'd raise that one. So obviously, I'm back over to you, Jonesy. So obviously, go 2-0 up. Obviously, half time. Second half, obviously, Palace didn't really come at us, did they? But we got the opportunity with the breakaway goal from their own corner, which is probably the only way we was going to counter-attack them in that game. But they still didn't look like they were going to do anything in the second half. But that, for the first time, it was a breakaway with electricity that I've missed from Arsenal for quite a while. And I don't actually blame Arsenal for this at present, to be fair. I just think where teams are literally coming to us with a low block, it's made it really, really difficult for us.
Yeah, no, you can see Palace, that was the first time they properly tried to go for us, and then we hit them on that. I think, was it 10 seconds from Raya's hands to the ball in the back of the net? It was an electric break, but I still had my heart in my mouth when Trossard had it. I thought he was going to miss, but yeah, no, he stuck it away quite well. But I think and then after that, was it or before, we should have had a penalty. I think Saka got pulled back in the box, blatant pull back in the box. Jesus, got pulled back, and then nothing even looked at. So, but yeah, all of our goals were looked at by VAR. And that foul didn't get looked at. So, just another one there. But yeah, no, we looked really good. And then, to bring on Martinelli, that's a player you don't want coming on at like the 70th minute in the game, he's just going to literally. And I think they had Klein at the time at right back. He got subbed off straight away because he probably knew, yeah, I'm going to be on toast here. But he literally got. I don't know who they brought on, someone else to try and cover him. But yeah, he come on electric, and he was very, what can I say, Thierry Henry-esque with his finishes. And they were brilliant. It was good to see him get some goals as well. You know, he hasn't been in great form. He's looked like the break's done him quite well as well. He's back to him best, like driving at players and finding the end product as well.
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I'm going to go over to George with this one. It's an interesting one, Martinelli. Average season at best up till now. I pretty much, I think I said probably a few weeks ago that I wanted him to have a couple of games on the bench just to come on and get some confidence in himself. He'd done that on Saturday, but he shows us when he does get into them kind of positions, he can be deadly. So what's the problem at the moment with Martinelli? Is it tactical? Is it himself? Is it the team?
I think it's more than one thing, to be fair, because I think that as much as we look at Martinelli, I think you could look at Saka and say the same thing. Because for me, like, I love Saka, but I think he's quite protected in our fan base. Like, a lot of people have a go at Martinelli, but for me, Saka hasn't been much different. And like you say, with the low blocks, I think teams frustrate us quite a bit. And something I have noticed a bit, it's more from the radio commentary, so you guys visually might be able to say it better. Saka normally has two people on him each time. Martinelli should be using that as a bit of an advantage to himself. I don't know. Is it that 1 minute we've got Zinni at left back and then Kivior, who's definitely not a left back? I think it's like a number of things, but hopefully with the break it would have helped Martinelli. But I do think with Martinelli, he does. A lot of people focus on him when they should focus on a couple of the other bigger name players who haven't been doing it. Because like I said to you last season, Liam, you take Saka and Martinelli's goals out of the team, we have the problems what we've got.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I think it's an interesting conversation, obviously, with Saka, that I don't feel Saka's been any better or any worse than Martinelli at the moment. But is this where we're getting teams, like you say, setting up very, very deep, like frustrating the hell out of Arsenal? And is this a little bit as well, when we look at the start of the season? I think if we look at that first game of the season, the way Arteta set that team up, did his plans get massively scarpered by Timber getting injured? Because if you look in that game, obviously he had the midfielder pulling in from right back, but he also then had Havertz pushing right up alongside the striker. Was his tactical game, even though I can see Charlie's face probably not agreeing with some of that, but was his tactical game at that point to have that midfielder come into midfield, to then push Havertz up, to then obviously try and obviously beat that low block?
Yeah, maybe. I do think Timber's injury, it affects a lot. I do find it a bit of an not as like a huge excuse, but a tiny bit of an excuse for certain narratives. Like, yeah, Timber, we don't know, like, because Timber had a couple of good games, we don't know if that would have carried on through the season. But what I mean with that is, like, I like Havertz, but I feel like Arteta's trying to turn Kai Havertz, like, put him in a square peg into a round hole sort of thing. So
where's his position?
Yeah, it's Arteta's decision, but
no, where's his position? Where's Havertz's position?
I bet just behind the striker. Like, I don't think he's a proper centre forward, and he's definitely no number 8 for me. But I think if you say, like, you had someone, just say you had a proper goal scorer up front and you just tucked him in behind, and he offers you different options, mate, as well, like with his height. But I don't know. It's a hard one because, like, we've seen him play up front and he's done okay, but then he's missed golden opportunities. So you can't really kind of call it either way. But with Martinelli, I just we're comparing the team how we played last season, and I get that, but I just can't get to grips that Granit Xhaka is the only reason we're not playing like that.
See, I'm going to go to Sam with this, and I look at that first game of the season against Nottingham Forest, and I only look at the first half. I look at that first half for that Forest game, and we pressed the absolute hell out of that team, and that was probably one of the best performances I've seen, not just from this season, but from quite a few seasons, like half a game. Mm-hmm. Like, we was that good. And I know I don't agree with people like Thomas Partey playing right back, whatever imagination. But what was Arteta trying at that point? Because for me, obviously it was the start of the season. He was trying something different, which is I think has backfired with the injuries to both Thomas Partey and Timber. But we had to remember that was probably one of our best half performances of the season that day.
Was that because everyone was playing so well though that we didn't? But although to be fair, I was at the game and I remember thinking Thomas Partey did do quite well then. I don't know. It's a weird one. This is what I keep saying. There's a lot of good, but then there's still this bit of where he wants to change everything and make everything perfect. And sometimes it can't be perfect. You just need to work with what you've got. And stay with something that works. It's almost like you get something to work and then goes, oh, actually, yeah, that's worked, but let me try a different way. Like, you don't need to keep doing that. If something's worked, you keep it as it is. Yes, he can't help injuries. Yes, he can't help everything else. But, yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know. There's still, for all the good that's happened, there's still like a mistake waiting to happen. I assumed that as he would get further and further into the job, he would make less mistakes. But sometimes, I don't know about the rest of you, but I sit there and I think, what's happened? Why has that happened? What's he done that for? Like, I often sit there and think, it's really weird. So I think that does pose kind of the bigger question that we've all kind of mentioned. Do we actually know how we should play, how we should set up? Even like the last few games, he's completely different with the players that he's picked like up front. 1 week Saka can be playing, well, he's there all the time, but 1 week Martinelli can be there, 1 week Trossard's on the wing, 1 week he's up front, 1 week he's behind the striker, so it's just it's too much messing around for me, and that's where I think we separate from Liverpool and Man City still. Yes, our squad's got better, but they seem to know what they're doing all the time. Even if they get a couple of players injured, they always know what they're going to do if that happens. We seem to not. We seem to just completely I don't know, fold when we get a couple of players injured. That's always how we've been.
Go on, Charlie. I know you've been itching to kind of...
I just don't get why this guy was playing Partey at right back, bro. You're playing your best central defensive midfielder at right back to shoehorn other players into the team. Like, I don't get it. Let's be real. Forest are wank, though, aren't they? Like, as good as we were, Forest are crap. But I do agree with you, though. I do agree with you. The Timber one, we'd be so much better if he hadn't got injured. I 100% believe that if he hadn't got injured, not only would Zinchenko not be playing as much football, and that's my guy, by the way, but he's been pissing me off recently. But if Timber was fit, he'd be playing 100%. I think he'd be our starting left back.
I just look back at that selection, mate, and I just think he had a different objective going into that season. And I don't think he just put that team together thinking, I'm just going to go with it today. I think there was a method behind it. And you're right, Forest ain't great. And now I'm going to say that in a sense that they're not a great team to be coming to the Emirates. Like, you go to their ground, we know it's going to be an hard game next week. Do you know what I mean?
I think they've got better since then. They look really... I remember being at the game and I remember messaging people after and saying, oh, God, it's going to be a long season for Forest, because apart from that last sort of when they leaked that goal in and then they looked a little bit better, apart from that, they were absolutely awful. They have got a lot better since then. But it's almost like Arteta wakes up in the morning. It's like a video game to him. He'll sort of see what objectives he's got on his TV on he'll load up FIFA and he'll go, right, what objectives I got on my career mode this week? Oh yeah, it's to put 2 different players in 2 random positions that nobody would have ever thought, and then that will be today's objective done with. Like, it's almost like that, because you just, I don't know, like I say, it's just some weird decisions that you just think, well, how's he thought of that one up? Like, just doesn't make sense sometimes. And that's not me slating him, because that's what people are doing at the moment and have been doing, which is not great. But yeah,
I don't think they were good that day whatsoever, but I think that first half, I wouldn't take that away from us. I thought we was like electric that first half of that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I agree with you. I think we were good, but again, I mean, that's another game, in my opinion. We should have been about 5-0 up in again. Yeah. But then this is what I mean, though. We seem to be doing this to a lot of teams, even some of the better teams, where we're having all this controlled possession, not going anywhere with it. Or if we do go anywhere with it, it ends up with a shot that's blocked or a chance that's created, a half chance, and then we're missing it. Like Villa, for example. Like West Ham, for example. But, yeah, I mean, the other thing as well that was madness, and I think I don't know if the Saudi links had anything to do with it, but he dropped our best actual defender, aggressive defender, to put Thomas Partey at right back and put Kai Havertz in midfield. Now, I mean, everyone knows how I feel about Thomas Partey playing at right back, because that's just ridiculous. But dropping Gabriel to shoehorn other players into the team as well, to me, it was just a bit... I mean, I get it. You want to control games and you want to put extra attackers in the team, but don't be putting in a 65 million player out of position. And I agree with you. I don't actually know what his position is. Like, I genuinely don't know what his position is. I mean, the 2 games that I actually think he's played well in, he's played up top both times.
But you've got to look at it. He's only played up top against the 2 best teams in the country.
And he's played well both times.
Yeah, he's played well. I was very surprised, mate. I would give him a game or 2 up there against a lower... Like, Crystal Palace would have been perfect for him. Mm-hmm. Crystal Palace game would have been perfect for him on Saturday to play him up there. And I still think that we should give him the opportunity up there against a lesser team to see if we can give him the confidence. And it just surprises me that we play him up top against Man City and Liverpool, which are the 2 best teams, not just in the league. Let's be honest, these 2 teams are 2 of the best teams in the whole of Europe. And we see what impact he had when he come on against Man City in the Premier League as well, up there. But then we won't play him for love or money up top against a lesser team, which is the games where he's probably going to get the confidence up there to move forward.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Because that's going back to, not sound like a broken record, but that's kind of him not knowing what to do. Like, it's so annoying because we've seen flashes of the player that he could be. And I've somewhat then got excited from slating him till the end of the world at the start. When I went to the last game, I thought, right, when I'm in the crowd now, I'll just sit and watch him, because you don't normally get to see that when it's on the TV or whatever. But actually, you could see then that we have got a player here if we can fit him into this team right. So I don't know how he's expected to gain any form when 1 week he plays at one position. If you had the best player in the world and you were putting him in a different position every week, he would look the same. He would look just average. But also kind of going back to, you said about all the corners at the start, surely that's a point that needs to be looked at as a team as well. Because if you're getting all the corners, you're creating all the chances but not scoring them. Yes, we know we can't score for love nor money at the minute, apart from last week. But that clearly needs to be something that we're looking at, because we're getting all these corners, but having a corner means you've scored or nearly scored.
Yeah, like...
I've got a question for you, lot. Yeah, would you swap Havertz and Jesus round as chuck Jesus at left 8? I thought about it the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
I think I would. I think you're probably getting the best out of both players in that instance, because I think Jesus is not... Although it's a hard one, because he is great to have up front as well, because he works so hard. So it's a tough one, actually. I think I'd have to consider it a bit more than giving you a straight answer.
I'd have to disagree. I'll tell you why I disagree. And it's the next question I'm going to ask Jonesy in a sec. The reason I disagree is, I think it's brilliant having a weapon coming off the bench. And I'm not saying Martinelli's the weapon that comes off the bench each week, but I'm saying Like, have we got a Martinelli, a Jesus, or a Saka sitting on a bench for 30 minutes to go? You know, any of them three players, yeah, are going to run the absolute ragged out of that fullback in the last 30 minutes, which is what Martinelli done on Saturday. For me, I wouldn't pay Jesus number 8. Like, for me, and I'm going to ask Jones a question, what would be your 3-man midfield now if everyone was fit?
Partey, Rice, and Odegaard.
Right. George, what would be your 3-man midfield?
Probably. I'm torn between Partey, Rice, Odegaard, or Rice, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard.
Sam?
I'd have to go with Jonesy because that's what I've wanted from the start, really.
Charlie?
What Jonesy said, because everyone knows that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to go with that 3-man midfield, yeah, right? Which is basically, it's a tough one. Like, for me, there's no way Smith Rowe is going to start that between now and the end of the season because he hasn't started it all season. So he's going to have to be a bit part player. But I expect much more minutes out of him before now and the end of the season. Like, long term, obviously, I want to see him in that side because I think he could be I think he could be an absolute weapon for us in that side. Honestly, I really do. But I would push Havertz first. I would push. But if we're not going to get a striker to now and the end of the season, why not push him right up there? Why not push him right up there? Yeah, right. And maybe have Jesus start on the left some games. Maybe have him start on the right some games. Maybe you rotate him some games up centrally up front. I think Jesus is that good. He can play in any of them 3 positions.
Yeah.
But I would like to see once Partey, Rice, and Odegaard are fit, Havertz play up there, just for 1-2 games. Just for 1-2 games.
I think you made that point, and I think we've got to, because the longer we keep trying with Jesus up front and Havertz behind him or the other way around, we're not going to see any goals because we've tried it. We've tried it this way around, and we've struggled to score apart from your Sakas, your Martinellis, and your Odegaard now and again. So, yes, if we're not going to sign a striker, which I think it looks like now we're not going to. I know we'll go on to that in a bit. But yeah, I certainly think it's worth a go. Like, that's working with what you've got, isn't it? That's what you've got to do at this stage because we know it's hard to sign players in January.
Look, I don't like to think too ahead myself here, right? But sometimes I think, is he holding back? Is he holding a tactical way back because he's waiting for the likes of Partey to come back into the team? As such, maybe is he holding Havertz back from playing up there because he don't really want people to kind of get a shoe-haul idea that he's going to push someone into that role and then just bang him in there. And then, like, you think, right, if you're playing like that midfield, yeah, right, set pieces, we should be eating teams up. You've got Saliba, Gabriel, Havertz, you've got Partey. Like, we got big physical players, Ben White. Like, we should be doing much better from set pieces, in my opinion. We're doing much better than most teams, but when I look at the amount of corner counts to what we kind of really create chances, it's pretty minimal. But if we get the set piece taker right, then I think we score a lot more goals from set pieces.
Yeah, 99% of the time we can't beat the first bloody man. So
yeah, that's so fucking annoying.
You've got Gabriel, mate. Let's be honest, mate. Gabriel's going to score you 5 goals plus every season from corners.
Yeah, and then Saliba's got to get his kind of start scoring from corners as well because they're both kind of the same build, aren't they? They're both kind of the same like height and build. So you would think it could start to come from either of them. But yeah, I certainly think you're onto something in terms of having different corner takers because we've seen that when, yes, it's great when one of Saka's corners comes off, but normally they're pretty average at best. You're normally just kind of groaning every time you get a corner because you're thinking, well, it's going to be the same thing. But when we've actually tried something different, even from free kicks, when we've tried something different, they've worked because we've tried something different. So they're obviously putting time into it. But yeah, I don't know. It's one that you could sit here and talk about all night.
Yeah, definitely. But the case is, we did do well from corners on Saturday afternoon, and obviously that was a bright spark in terms of when you score that goal. Yeah, right. It gives you that the team have to come out at us. Do you know what I mean? Whenever we're sitting with 0 goals, team are just going to sit there. And that's where we have to be like deadly with things like set pieces, because if we are struggling in games, they're going to be the games which, if we get 1 goal, the whole game totally the complexion changes, and you can see what we are capable of. Like that one moment of brilliance in terms of that counter attack for the 3rd goal. it was a great moment. It was a great moment. Like I think we've not even mentioned Trossard's finish. Do you know what I mean? In terms of Trossard, George,
Yeah.
Where do you see him this second half of the season? Do you still see him being an impact player? Do you see him playing games up front?
It's kind of been really ironic because I said whenever Trossard starts, he don't score, and well, he did, didn't he? I still see him as like an impact player, probably. It's a hard one, mate, because I know this is never going to happen. But I would like if Saka did get put on the bench, I could see Trossard or whoever starting in that position. I know we're not going to see Saka get rested. I think he has to be, but I know we're not going to see it. But yeah, I just see Trossard as that impact player. It's like you said, it's having different options, isn't it? As well, like we've got players who can play across that front three when they're given the opportunity, but some of them don't get enough opportunities to actually prove what they're all about. So it's really difficult with Trossard because at some points he's been all right, and then he's had some really horror games. And like Charlie said, whenever he takes a corner, I'm kind of glad I can't see it. Like that's how bad it is. But yeah, I'd probably say he'd be a bench player for me. But come the last 20 minutes.
I'll watch him at times, Trossard, and I'll sit there and think to myself, if he played in the Barcelona team, somewhere like that in Spain, I think he'd absolutely flourish. He would absolutely flourish. But his first half performances this season when he started had not been up to scratch. No. If we're being totally honest. And even on Saturday, there was no impact from him in that first half. But you see the capability, what he can do when he does get given the opportunity. I do expect more from him, if I'm being totally honest with you, when you're starting games. Like, we're not talking about a 23, 24-year-old. Trossard's 29.
Exactly. So he's experienced as well. Premier League experience. Like, and I'm not being rude. He's proved he can score.
Yeah.
He was at Brighton. I'm sure he scored like hat-trick against Liverpool at Anfield, and he scored in big games. I don't know. It's an interesting one with Trossard as well. And like you say, he's not a kid, so he's not like Nelson or Saka's age. So I just think he needs to deliver more. Because otherwise, like I know we're going to the transfer stuff down the line, but in the next couple of years, he could be one of those people that sees way being phased out.
Go back to you, Sam. I know George mentioned about Emile Smith-Rowe. He come on, looked very tidy, I thought, for the last 25 minutes. Yeah. Obviously, this season hasn't gone to plan again. I think that's a bit to do with the manager. I think that's a bit to do with the injuries as well. What do you expect from Emile Smith-Rowe between now and the end of the season? Because there's definitely talent there, is there? Do you see his long-term future at Arsenal, or do you think that we could sell him in the summer?
No, I hope so. It'd be just down to him, isn't it? Whether he wants to fight for his place or whether he wants to get more solid minutes. Because obviously we can't guarantee that to him at the minute. Because there's no way. The only way that he gets to his best position is in Ødegaard's place, and you just can't change that. Like, that's just not. So it's a shame we're not thinking about it. It's a shame we're still not in any of these cup competitions, really, to kind of give him more of a game, because they're at the point we're in the Champions League now where you've got to have your best team out, no questions asked. So you're past the point where you can kind of give everybody minutes that like need minutes. So actually from now to the end of the season, you haven't really got much opportunities to give people minutes unless you're coasting a game 3 or 4-0. So I hope we get to see some of him. But I'm not holding out on much, because before that interview, he had that weird interview where they said is he gonna leave? Oh no, it's still in his plans. But there was number of opportunities that he could have played and came on the pitch, but he was left on the bench. So there is something in it. Whether that is Arteta not trusting him to get injured again, Arteta not trusting him in general, I don't know what it is. But there is definitely something that's holding him back from getting minutes, because there is, like I say, certain games where you could have where a spark needed to happen, you could have gone, yeah, Smith Rowe's one of those players that you put him on a pitch and he can make a difference. So, yeah, there's something in it. I just don't know what it is. A bit like Gabriel at the start of the season when he wasn't playing. Like, there was something going on there with that, wasn't there? It's a little bit similar to that.
What do you think, Charlie? What's your kind of thoughts on the Emil Smith Rowe situation?
I don't think he's ever going to start, unfortunately for him. He's never... I think, as much as I don't want to, I think our best bet is to sell him and raise funds because he's never going to start for Arsenal. Now that as soon as Partey comes back, unless we sell him as well, we're going to replace him with Zubamendi or Onana or someone like that. And like it's already been mentioned, his only actual position is Odegaard's position, and he's not going to play ahead of Odegaard. So for me, unless he's happy just to warm the bench and maybe get 30, 35 minutes at best in a lot of games, then he's best off for his sake going elsewhere and us getting a load of money in to potentially strengthen the squad elsewhere.
I don't know. Just a quick question. What do you think about this? Because I actually felt sorry for Hodgson at the end of the game last time because the fans were again directing it kind of at the club, but at Hodgson saying, "Oh, leave the club" or whatever. But actually, I don't know what the poor man can do because they could get any manager in. I pretty much believe that they could get any manager in and they would still be in the situation that they're in currently. It's the fans being a little bit clueless as to thinking that it's all on the manager's head, which it's not. This Palace team has been the same. I don't tend to follow Palace that much, but I know that every single season they come into it, do mediocre at the start, get to halfway through the season, have a period where they're really bad, and then they stay up. That's basically the story of their season. So every season. So I echo what Jonesy said earlier. I feel fortunate to be an Arsenal fan when I think about Palace. But yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him because we've been in that situation before where things have been all directed at the manager, but it was more probably of a club level. So I wondered what you all thought, really.
I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't think he was aimed just at the manager. I think he was aimed at the board as well. But you've got to ask yourself a question, yeah, right? When a guy's 76, 77 years of age, yeah, right? Is the chairman got his best interests at heart by keeping him at the club? That's my personal opinion. Now, I believe, my personal opinion again, the only reason he hasn't been taken away is because Paris trusts that he'll keep him up at the end of the day. And he obviously trusts that fact. But you've got to remember, this is a guy, yeah, right, that when he left Crystal Palace 2-3 years ago, everyone thought he was going to retire. No one thought, like 2 years on, they'd be brought back to the club to save them, which there was issues behind the scenes with Patrick Vieira, which was obviously the reasons why that he was dismissed. Not really sure what it is, but there was definitely issues behind the scenes. But you got to think, yeah, right? Yeah, they bring Hodgson back, but was it the right decision then to keep him for another year after that? And I just worry for the poor guy, to be honest, because like I just sit there and think it's going to kill you off sooner or later, mate. And that's a really not nice thing to say, but when you got a guy at that age sitting at that job, I just have to then question. You have to look at the board and the owners and say, are you making the right decision? There are managers out there potentially who could take that job on now. But what are they waiting for? I don't know what they're waiting for. The only thing that I thought, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but potentially Gareth Southgate leaves England in the Euros, don't he? He was a former Crystal Palace player. They're obviously holding out for something. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with a manager of that age.
Yeah,
going through that situation.
The stress of like keeping the club up and the stress of having the fans. If it's not directed at him, it's directed at the club. It still affects you, doesn't it? Like the stress of things. So yeah, it's just a weird one, isn't it? I didn't think that you'd ever get to a stage where you'd have. Well, certainly he's got more than any right to sit at home and do nothing and think, do you know what, I've done what I needed to do. But yeah, like I say, I think it's down
to the squad either. They haven't, like, you look at their squad now to what their squad was probably about 3-4 years ago. and they haven't got the squad either. They brought players in that they're not playing. So they've spent, I wouldn't say they spent a vast amount of money, but when you sit there and think that they spent like 15, I think it's around 15 million plus for the Brazilian lad. Obviously, they brought another goalkeeper in for 20 million. And then you start looking at it like that and you think, well, they got 2 decent keepers at the club. But had they spent the money in the right areas? I don't know. But it's hard because we don't watch them every week. But yeah, I just think it's quite an uncomfortable situation at the moment. And I think that the chairman should be making the right decision, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, because the thing is, you would say that it's a little bit down to Hodgson to say that I'm done. But actually, I don't think it is, because I don't think he wants to carry on managing. Like, he'd still, like, even like, for example, when Wenger got to that point, he still wanted to manage, but he knew that things weren't quite working out. It's a little bit like that. He doesn't want to he's like too proud to kind of give up on it midway through. It's a little bit like that. But yeah, you're right in saying that the board could be going, yeah, it's enough now, this.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I know we got a bit of a transfer deadline show a little bit later, but it'd be interesting to see who they kind of bring in over the next 7 days. Going back to, obviously, I'm going to go and look ahead now to the Nottingham Forest game, because obviously that is a big game coming up next Tuesday evening, 7:30 kickoff. Yeah, like, I think this is a game when we see where we actually kind of stand at the moment. I think this is an incredibly massive game, Charlie, in terms of we can't afford anything less but winning there going into that Liverpool game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think you'll know within the first 10, 15 minutes if we're winning this game or not, just by the way that not only they set up, but the way we set up and the way that we're moving the ball or whatever. The thing is, though, with Forest now is they're different to the Forest that we played at the start of the season. They'll actually open up because Nuno doesn't park the bus. He actually tries to play football. And I think I know it was Man United, but I mean, against Man United, they had, in the first half, they had like near on 60, 65% possession, which Nottingham Forest never have. So I think they'll actually have a go at us, which obviously is what we want. But it depends on who we've got available as well, because I've heard from a few people that Thomas Partey might actually be available and fit for selection. Now, I know what I'd be doing if he was a fit and available. I'd be slinging him straight in the team. But then, obviously, that's a big risk. But, you know, it's a bit of, the manager will probably come up with a way to shoehorn certain players into the team, or he'll play a random player completely out of position. We might see Trossard right wing or something. Who knows?
It's an interesting one with Thomas Partey because he didn't get shoehorned straight back into the team last time, did he? So I'm not sure that I expect him to be starting against Forest whatsoever. I want him to start against Forest. Basically, I want him to start now to the end of the season. That's what I expect from him. He's that kind of player. But I'll be very, very surprised if Arteta shoehorns him in straight away into that game, because I think there will be a bit of an eye on Sunday as well. But Jonesy, do you kind of expect him, if he doesn't start against Forest, then he won't start against Liverpool? Or do you think there's more chance that he'll start the Liverpool game?
I actually reckon he's going to start on Tuesday night. I reckon he's going to come on, start the game. We're probably, big game, like you say. Agree with Charlie. It's under the lights. Forest are going to come out. They're going to go for it. They want to put on a show. But I really think Partey will play. We'll have that 3-man midfield we've been asking for. And then after maybe 60 minutes, 70 minutes, you'll see him come off maybe with an eye on the Liverpool game. I think that's what we should do. If he's ready to go, he's ready to go. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we're not going to get... It doesn't matter if he starts Tuesday night or he starts against Liverpool. He's got to go. There's going to be that point where you've got to get him in. He's got to play. I think he owes us to play. If you ask me, if he spent quite a while on the sidelines, and we've stuck by him. And I've been his biggest critic this season. But if he wants to be at this club and wants to play, he needs to play. And for us to win this game Tuesday night, we need to be at full strength, get the job done, get him off, and then wrap him in cotton wool, whatever, and put him in the cupboard till Sunday, and then ready to go against the Scouse Mugs. But yeah, he should play.
Over to you, John. I can see you chuckling away there to yourself. I agree with Jonesy. He owes us big time over this last couple of seasons. I think. No, I wouldn't say probably last 9 months. I think I'm probably still a bit disappointed regarding the back end of last season. But if we're being honest, he is a fantastic player. If we keep him fit between now to the end of the season, what do you expect? What can we expect?
I was just laughing at the image of Party just being bundled in the cupboard. Yeah, I think obviously if he's fit, like everyone said, he starts. I do think he owes us. I've been one of his critics as well. It's what we've wanted, isn't it? The Party, Rice, Odegaard free. So, and if you're going on last season, Thomas Partey was probably the best holding midfielder in the Premier League. I even think he was better than Rodri. So there's nothing to say that we can't push for the title. I still don't think we'll win it, just because I just don't think we need a striker and we're not going to get one. But I think we can push. Definitely. I don't know if he'll start against Forest, but I definitely think he'll start against Liverpool. I just think Forest, I think we'll see Rice and Jorginho, to be fair. But yeah, like everyone said, when Partey's fit, he plays. That's as simple as it is. I just think it's very ironic how it's come out about Partey being fit like a day after Ghana got knocked out of AFCON. So, but
it was a very interesting one, that one, wasn't it? They get knocked out, and a day later he's ready to play again. I think there must have been something aligned with that. Obviously, over to you, Sam. Obviously, I'll let you kind of finish up talking about Thomas Partey. Are you in the understanding that he'll probably leave at the end of the season, and we just need to get the best out of him over the next 3 to 4 months?
See, it's another one of those frustrating ones, isn't it? Because we've kind of seen like what he can do, but he clearly just can't stay fit. So I think we need to. I think curving on to the point, we actually need for him to play, because if he is to get injured again, then we need to go right in the summer. We've got to get anything we can for him. Whereas if we wait and give him minutes here and there, we're actually not going to know if he's right for carrying us on in the future. So yeah, I don't see why, if he's fit to play, then he should be playing. But yeah, we'll see, because it's just not going to, like, as soon as he gets onto the pitch and kicks the ball, you're going to think, right, as soon as he kicks this ball, he's going to be injured again. So it's not going to be an easy watch, I don't think. We're not getting the Thomas Partey that we signed, for sure.
And Charlie, just obviously on that, Partey sits in the number 6 role. You comfortable with obviously Rice in that left-hand side in a number 8 role?
Yeah, 100%. I said at the start of the season that's where Rice should be playing anyway. I don't know about you lot, but I actually think Partey's a better defensive midfielder than Rice, bruv. He is. He's a better defensive midfielder. He progresses the ball through the lines so much easier than anyone else does, other than arguably Zinchenko, but Zinchenko's playing in defence and then going into midfield. Whereas Rice, we actually brought him in my opinion, to fill Xhaka's position, which is to get the ball and drive with it and end up in the opponent's box. And obviously, like we've said, he hasn't been able to do that because Partey being injured means he's had to play as the 6 because he hasn't had anyone else to put there. He obviously doesn't trust Jorginho enough to play that amount of games. So, I mean, I said it to start with, though. As soon as we signed Rice, he should be playing as a left 8. So
this is the interesting thing now, and I keep going back to the first game of the season again. But Declan Rice was having a lot of shots at the start of the season. He was having opportunities and chances. Do you know what I mean? He was arriving late in the box, and that was it. That was us. But I know that was us playing a way that we're not playing now. But we're missing. I was thinking about it. I was thinking we're missing now. Like Rice don't really pop up anywhere now, does he? Because he's so restricted in terms of what he's doing. But like you said, he's got that. He's proven to us he's got that drive. He's got big game goals in him. He's proven that as well. And I think we just got to let it flourish now and see what he does between now and the end of the season. I don't know long term if he'll play at number 8, but I think between now and the end of the season, he has to play there.
I guess if we're thinking, go on, Charlie.
Yeah, fair enough. The Community Shield game, yeah, we had our midfield of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. Now, obviously, we didn't start the game that well, but once we settled, yeah, they couldn't get through us.
No.
They created nothing really, and obviously we had Timber coming in from left back as well. There was no way through us. Yeah, and I know Rice is obviously very good at what he does, but for me, in that position, he ain't Thomas Partey. He just isn't Thomas Partey. I think Rice is better as a left 8, where he can actually get on the ball and progress it forward himself and run with it. And like you said, he ain't restricted. He ain't restricted in what he can do. Whereas effectively what he's doing for us now is what he was doing for West Ham, which was literally just breaking up play and then kicking it forward.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got anyone else we could put there. Because we're playing with a 6 and 2 8s in the 10 position. Well, 2 10s actually in the 8 positions. In Havertz, Trossard, Smith-Rowe or whoever, and Odegaard. Whereas with Partey in there, we've got a 6, an 8 and a 10. So there's more balance in the midfield. We're not getting left in 2v1s and all that.
Yeah, and like when you got Zinchenko coming into that midfield, that should be at the point. And this is what I was saying with the Havertz pace. Sometimes when you watch us, right, when Zinchenko comes in, because he does it superbly well. Coming into midfield, he does it probably better than anyone at the moment. But sometimes you sit there and you think, we're all on top of each other. And then you look out wide and there ain't no one out there to kind of get the ball. Well, there is. But poor old Saka by that point has got like 2-3 men on him. Do you know what I mean? And this is the bit where in that midfield, if Zinchenko comes in, that midfield then needs to push up. Someone needs to push up right on top of that striker.
Yeah, if we're thinking though, if we're kind of thinking that we aren't going to see him past this season, then if we're not going to get a striker, it's key we get this cover, because the problem is when we come around to summer, it won't be just us looking at players like Onana. It'll be us and 6 other clubs. So if we're seriously thinking come the end of the season, we might not be looking at him, then we need to be getting somebody in and quick, because summer it's going to be just a lot harder to get anyone. Yeah,
like this summer's for me, this summer's a big summer, isn't it? Like, obviously, top 4 for me is obviously a given. We have to finish in the Champions League spots, whatever happens. Mm-hmm. We know this season, 100%, we're going to need to get a striker in. I know we're going to go into the transfer a bit soon, but we're going to need a top-class striker. But obviously, that centre midfield role is going to be a big piece as well. And I still think that we still look at a potential defender who's going to kind of flex it across a couple of positions. Maybe, I don't know, a full-back, centre-back position. Now, when you think about that, going into next season, like we've already said, like the striker, if you go and get Osterman, for example, like that's a game changer, isn't it? That changes the whole complexion of our team, because we've got someone who's going to be quite powerful up there. And at times, I think when we get into positions, you just sit there and you think, if we had someone powerful and prolific, like it'd be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Like games would be over in the first 30, 40 minutes. But unfortunately, we haven't got that at the moment. So I think that is going to be the last stage of obviously the plan.
Yeah.
But next season for me, there is no excuses. Next season for me, we have to go out and win things. And I'm not saying we're not going to win something this year. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But if we don't win something this year, we really need to be in a situation where we're winning at least something next year. Mm-hmm. But ideally, as I was saying too, I think Jonesy and Charlie off air, I fully expect us to be going out in the Carabao Cup still and having long runs. And FA Cups, it's not acceptable for a club of our size to be going out in the 3rd round, especially at home to a Liverpool side that we battered. It's not acceptable at the end of the day. And you can see why, including myself, why we lost it that day, because we should have, that game should have been over in the first 20, 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And it was just a bit of a typical kind of Arsenal kind of performance that we'd seen 4 or 5 years ago. But next season, I think like we need to be having good cup runs, but we need to be proper challenging for that title next year, don't we? Like I'm not brought that we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna win it this year. I've been quite open about that. I just think there's a potential banana skins, mate. There's so many hard games between now and the end of the season. Like we've got to go to Man City away. We got to go up the road away. Do you know what I mean? Places like Brighton away. There's so many tricky games that I sit there and I think I've got no reason at this moment of time to be confident that we'll go and put an 8-10 win game streak in. But
yeah, I think it's Man United or Liverpool. Like Man United, bloody hell, they're nowhere near. Man City and Liverpool's to lose, really, isn't it? Like it's made for one of those two, I think, currently, unless something happens between now and the end of this transfer window and we suddenly sign a striker, which I don't think is happening. But if we did, then you'd think, well, you're kind of in the picture again. But without it, I think, yeah. But I was just thinking as well, when you mentioned about going out the FA Cup, that's probably not hurt us in terms of going out, because it is what it is. But it's not give us that time to give Arteta any ways to think of different teams or different strategies that isn't going to hurt us massively. Because unfortunately now, if he changes the team and tries something and it fails, each game in the Premier League we know is important. And if you're going to go and win the league or going to go and challenge, you've got to be winning 95% of the games you've got. So it's probably actually hurt us in terms of finding the right players to fit the system that he wants to play, because we haven't got, each game that we have is completely vital.
Yeah, I'm going to go to George on this one, but I actually think our best opportunity of doing anything this year is in the Champions League. I honestly think that our best opportunity is the Champions League. And I think by the time we get into the Champions League, by the sounds of it, what we're hearing at the moment, Thomas Partey and Timber should be back, or Timber should be definitely back by, as long as we're successful against Porto into the quarter-final round stages. George, what's your kind of thought process in terms of the Premier League title at the moment and the Champions League situation?
I think it's between Liverpool and Man City. I'm not going to say we're out of it, because stranger things have happened. I do think it's easier, or not easier, but probably more and more quick to probably potentially go on and win the Champions League, which sounds a bit mad, but all it takes is the bigger teams to get each other. They're out, and then it's just a game. You get to the final, it's 90 minutes, isn't it? It's not over the same, say, like with the Premier League. I know people bang on about a striker, but I just think people are obsessed with that. Yeah, it is what we need, but it's not all that we need. Like I've said to you, Liam, if Declan Rice gets injured, and that was when Partey wasn't available, like, well, we're screwed, really.
I think we're screwed him if he is available, to be fair.
Yeah. So yeah, it all depends. Like I think with the cups, I think the Carabao Cup hurt us more than the FA Cup, personally. Because yeah, we should have beat Liverpool, but mate, like I was with Jonesy and that was awful at the West Ham game. That's for another day. But £12 for a burger, that was just over that. But like, and you think if we went through the Carabao Cup, we probably would have got Liverpool anyway. But there are a handful of games that in that time people could have had a chance, like Smith Rowe, whoever, to play. And at the end of the day, mate, it's not good enough. We're Arsenal Football Club. We shouldn't be crashing out in third round, fourth round, whatever. Domestically, we're known as probably one of the one of the best sides. We've won the FA Cup the most, and we're crashing out. Like Liverpool, they would have been on a GBH chart first half. Battered them so much. So, I think we'll go for. I did say it, so I thought we'd go quite far in the Champions League. Do I think we'll win it? why not? Just why not? A Smith Rowe winner and a David Raya safe penalty in the final. Wembley.
God, that'd be a good night, wouldn't it?
That wouldn't fit the narrative, would it? Though, not with David Raya. So.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. I wouldn't, but that'd be a bloody good night. I know that much.
Sheila would be happy, mate.
Obviously, before I just go over to Jones, I'm going to go to Charlie with someone. Just obviously welcoming Mark in. How you doing, mate?
Evening all good, yeah. Yourselves?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Good, mate.
Yeah, good, mate.
Talking football is always good when we're talking football, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just over to you, Jonesy, on that. Obviously, what's your kind of thought process in terms of where do you see the title race going, and obviously Champions League as well?
Yeah, I think Liverpool probably will get it this year. I don't think City are going to get any better. I feel they've still got their issues and their problem. You know, I know they got a younger looking De Bruyne back, but he, they still have their issues, I think. But the Champions League, you look at the caliber of the Champions League. You look at it last year. Inter Milan were whack. I don't know how they got to that final. But yeah, you look at the caliber. It's not the same as when we were in it last time. You know, with the Messi's at Barcelona and the Real Madrids and stuff like that. Each team isn't as strong as they used to be. The Bayern Munich is probably stronger as well now, but we got a real good chance. Home, get that home leg first, get a good win, then go away. I reckon we can beat any team away, especially in that Champions League. I just feel something special is going to happen. I don't know what. I reckon in May there's going to be a massive party and there's going to be a live show from outside the Emirates and we're all going to be pissed out our heads. But I reckon, the Champions League, it's at Wembley. It's our ground, We win cups at that ground, I just think it's written in the stars. If there is a perfect time to win it, it'd be this season.
It would be this season because there's no Liverpool in it this year to worry about. Probably the informed team in the Premier League at the moment. If you avoid Real Madrid and Man City out of the quarterfinals and semi-finals, then you pretty much look at the best of the rest and you sit there and think, well, we should be part of that best of the rest. And when you start listening to like professionals and all that kind of stuff, they think that we'll probably be quite up there.
Yeah.
But we need a lot of luck. You need in Champions League, you need a lot of luck. You need something to go for you at the time. And I think the biggest thing that we need is to make sure that we don't lose a William Saliba again. Do you know what I mean? At any point, we need Thomas Partey fit and we need a Timber fit. I don't know why, but I've got this feeling that we're going to do quite well in the Champions League this year. I don't want to be disappointed because I'll be fucked off. If you think I was pissed off against Liverpool, if we go out to Port, I'll be well. But I've got a good feeling about Champions League this year. I think it's not like it used to be. Like even with Bayern Munich, I look at Bayern Munich and I think we're not being funny. Like they've got Harry Kane, but we beat Tottenham with Harry Kane. Do you know what I mean? Like they've just gone and sold Eric Dyer.
Yeah. See, I'm getting ready. I'm half getting ready. I don't want to get above myself, but I'm half getting ready to give away my left arm if we get anywhere near Wembley, because that's what you're going to have to do if it comes to that stage.
Minimum expectations, semi-finals for me.
Yeah.
Minimum expectations.
Yeah, I think so.
One semi-final.
It's just I don't hold that we're going to be. The thing that you need is to be fortunate in the draw. And that's not something we can ever rely on, is it? Unfortunately,
No.
So
as long as we avoid the Real Madrid and the Man City in the quarterfinals, I want a semi. I want us to get to a semi-final, and I basically want us to have the second leg at the Emirates, ideally.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying that if you take those two out of the equation, we can beat any one of them, for sure. It's just like you say, avoiding those two. And I think we've looked probably at our best in the Champions League as well when it's been a one-off occasion and there's not... Because there isn't any... I think the thing as well, it's really good. There's no pressure on us to do well. There's no sort of, you've got to get to the final. There's no expectation like Man City you've got now, where they've got to...
You just said we have to get to the semi-final or else it's a disaster.
I think if you don't get Real Madrid and Man City in the quarters, then... Yeah. My personal opinion is that we should be looking to get to the semis.
Yeah,
I don't think Real Madrid. You take Bellingham out of Madrid. I've watched them the last couple of months. They're beatable. Like they're actually they're not like Bellingham makes them tick completely different. But like they just like Atletico Madrid. I watched them. They ain't been playing that great, and they nearly beat Real Madrid the other day. Like, I know it's a league game. I don't think Madrid are I'm not saying good, but
there's a club we owe one in there. Atletico Madrid, we owe them one.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Liverpool
Charlie?
beat
You've
them
been
the other night, I
quite
think, in
quiet
the-
on this one at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just listening to you lot debate. I think we'll slap Porto over 2 legs, and then I think what will happen is we'll get Man City in the quarterfinal, or because that's what happens, isn't it? We slap one of the shit teams, and then we just get given, like in the old days, we used to just get given Barcelona or Bayern Munich, and I used to turn it off. I used to just turn it off, bruv, because as soon as I knew we were playing against Messi, there was no point in even because you knew we were getting beat. So what was the point?
I think I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to watch the draw and then hope that, because normally I watch the draw every year. So this year I'm not going to bother watching it if we get past Porto, and then hope that by me not watching it, suddenly the balls get mixed up. And
I'll take Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll take Bayern Munich as long as Man City got drawn against Real Madrid.
Yeah. And on the far side for the semi-finals as well.
Yeah.
I'd fancy us against, but I'll agree with BX going on. I'd fancy us against Barcelona over 2 legs.
Yeah, I'll take anyone else. I'll take anyone other than Real Madrid and Manchester City. I'll take anyone.
Saliba's going to pocket Mbappe.
Again,
If it's
He's
PSG.
done it before, indeed.
PSG, like, let's be honest, like they've Newcastle, very fair, like really. When you
PSG are wank, man.
Yeah, when you start looking at how they, I know it was quite funny because obviously what happened with us with Newcastle at the time, but when you start looking at it, PSG should never have even got a point.
No, we're blessed to get through.
Do you know what I mean? So,
blessed.
people were saying about it, I'd be more than happy to get them in the quarterfinals.
It makes you laugh though, doesn't it? Because when you look at their team, you think, "Oh my god, look at that! Like that strike force." But then the rest of the team is just absolutely awful. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it doesn't make any sense at all. They're not short of money, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know why you would have those midfielders and defenders in that team. Like it doesn't make any sense.
No, none whatsoever. Ask Mbappe, he's making all the decisions over there, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the director of football, picks the team, signs off on the transfers. I think that was all in his last contract. So.
No, but I think as long as we avoid them 2 big cheeses, then I think, like, my personal opinion is that we should get to at least a semi. But like you said, like
Bayern will be pretty, but they're not playing that well.
Yeah,
season, so.
I think
they're certainly not the team that we played the last time we was in the Champions League. They were at their peak then. They're certainly not that at all.
But we was naive back in them days, just be totally honest. Like we wouldn't change our style of football for no one, would we?
No.
And,
Mate, we were shit.
We had Shabak and Giroud.
That didn't help, Charlie. You're definitely
Mate, we were shit. We got beat 10-2 on aggregate. Who loses 10-2 on aggregate?
Well, apart from Sunday League, nobody.
Like, we had Francis Coquelin bossing the midfields, mate. We were shit.
That's terrible to put ill on his name. Shocking.
Now I think we can go to a Bayern Munich and give it hold our own and actually be set up to kind of like at least try and match them toe for toe. I think that we would go there and be very shrewd in terms of our approach. Do you know what? I think if we get a Bayern Munich, I'd rather get them away in the first leg.
I don't know. I think the first leg at home would be better because if we get a lead, then without the away goal rule now as well, I think the first leg at home is probably more beneficial because it's reversed now. Because if you get a lead, you can just park the bus in the second leg.
Actually, to be fair, you're probably right there because Bayern Munich are probably one of the only clubs who could park the bus. Could you imagine him turning up with old Eric Dyer parking the bus? He would love it, wouldn't he? He would absolutely fucking love it.
If we was to nick like a 2-0 or something in the home leg, then we go to their gaff. As long as we don't concede an early goal, then you never know. And we could just nick one on the break, then it's game over.
Yeah, I think you could be right there, to be fair.
They're just trying to rebuild the old Tottenham team, aren't they? They wanted Trippier next. Like, don't know, Hugo Lloris could be next or Chimbonga.
I was thinking the same, George. Yeah.
Right, that's pretty much it. Any of you guys, because we're going to go into the transfer bit now. Are any of you guys dropping off, or are you going to stay on?
Yeah, I'm dipping out.
All right, Charlie, mate. Well, obviously, thanks for coming on stage, mate.
Charlie.
Cheers, boys. Nice seeing you. Catch up with you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye. Well, we're going to go into the transfer part of the show now, where obviously we're just going to have a look at a bit of the transfer window. Obviously, what we'll do, we'll start with kind of Arsenal and start looking at some of the players that we have been linked with. Obviously, I'm going to go to you first, Mark.
Yeah. Well,
do you expect anything, first and foremost, from the rest of this window?
I would say it falls into the highly unlikely bracket. Think probably for us in percentages, 10% we might do something, 90% I'd say no chance. I think it's one of those, the market isn't great, first of all. It's totally a seller's market at the moment, so I just don't think there's opportunities there to make good signings, particularly in the area of the field where we're all going to say we want a striker. Every club in the world wants a striker, so any striker we go for, you're talking stupid money. So
yeah,
I don't see it. I think, unlike say a Man United who've been happy to throw money after it, Arsenal have a certain level that they'll go to and then they'll just walk away. So I don't see it happening this time, bar maybe a loan for a defender or something like that. But I don't see us actually pushing the boat out anyways, definitely not.
Obviously, you say around a loan for a defender. What kind of position do you think that we did go out, we'd be kind of looking at?
Probably a fullback. Like if you look at this year, when we've lost Zinchenko, okay, Tommy Ass has been away and injured. We've had to play Kivior at left back. He's not a left back. So it's kind of, and then we're judging him on being he's not a left back. So if something becomes available in that sort of position, possibly we could do something there. But if anyone's watching, no, Kieran Tierney will not be coming back from it. So
we're not even going to debate him in the show. We're not even going to debate him.
You stole my fun, Mark.
Yeah, I was waiting to drop that one, Mark.
I was waiting to say, I just sent him on loan. We would have had it.
Just obviously passing over to you, Jonesy, from that. What's your kind of ambitions between now and next Thursday?
Ambitions, Mbappe in, no, but it's very quiet, and a week to go. The whole market is, like Mark said, is dead. They compared, last year's January to this year's. It's literally chalk and cheese. It's like, what was it, spent something like 300 something this time last January, and it's only been 30 something this year.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is. It's crazy, but I just think it's the way the market is. And FFP, I think clubs are aware. They've seen clubs like Everton get the fines, and I think they're just being a bit more savvy now in the market. But
Gary's got a bloody good point there. I'm feeling like it already. Transfer talk, blank, done, next subject.
Yeah. This thing about Benzema's floating about, and it's just, you wish you get him in to the end of the season.
Yeah, I know.
He'll do you that job, He's I know he's been quoted to say, what was it, we're a bunch of clowns or something the last time he was interested. So, come and join the circus and see what happens in the season. But I would love to get someone in like that, but I think same as what Mark's thinking. We're going to be sitting here next Thursday. I'm going to be having a cup of soup and just chill out and watch the box and have a chat with you guys.
I think this could be officially the worst transfer deadline evening ever.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that. I remember last time we did it, it was quite like there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on with us, but then there was other stuff going on with other clubs. We haven't even got that back up this time. It's literally just nothing's happening.
Humbleweed.
So we'll go around the room like this once, I reckon, and then the 11 o'clock deadline will hit, or whatever time it is now, because it changes every time.
Yeah. Just put up that screen next week. That GIF with the tumbleweed going across it. that might cover it for next Thursday.
Yeah, I don't think it's not just that it's going to be like a lot of our time, but I don't think anyone's really going to want to tune into it. Obviously, they can see us, which is obviously the top attraction, but
goes without saying.
It goes without saying, of course, but there's not really going to be much for us to talk about, I don't think.
It's a shame the Premier League darts don't start next week.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? 1st of February. Next Thursday night. Yeah, so
there you go. I thought it was the week after. There you go, boys. That's what we do then.
The results came out. The games came out, and the night that I'm going to is the Nottingham night, and that's the night that Little is facing MVG. So
very good.
That'd be
Very
a
good.
great night. Yeah, well, there you go next week. It might not be so bad after all.
Yeah,
We might do a little bit of commentary on the darts again. Obviously, I'll go over to you, George. I'm losing the will to live already around this club. But obviously, what the striker situation at the club at present has been obviously a talking point throughout this season. Do you see anyone leaving the club between now and the end of the window, or do you think that we're just going to pretty much keep everyone that we've got and just obviously push forwards for the rest of the season and just kind of hope that Partey and Timber have the impact?
Well, I tried with Nketiah's auntie.
I was about to say that, George. I was about to say if word gets passed down what you said last week, then he'll be leaving. He'll saying, "Well, George, he's the voice of reason, so I will have to go."
That hasn't worked. Family trait couldn't even put me on the right train. I don't really see us doing anything at all. I don't like who's gonna like. Everyone's struggling to buy players, so who's gonna? Apart from Cedric, unless he ain't gone yet.
Yeah.
Turkey, yeah.
So they need to find a new dog walker and photo bomber. So that could be. They could bring Tierney back for that. Like if they want.
What dog?
Probably still pull a hamstring. I don't know. Like all the Benzema talk as well. I thought I just left school again. I heard one today, and I was like, and it was Callum Wilson.
I heard that today.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I was like,
trying to get him out the door, yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh, it'd be a good sign."
What I mean to Chelsea, Manchester United, and us. Like, is this the same Callum Wilson? Like, what?
So I was like, no.
Agent talk.
I don't know. I wouldn't have been surprised if Nelson went on a loan somewhere. I wouldn't, but I don't really see that now. Smith Rowe with the West Ham talk that was never happening. So it's like you guys have said, it's hard this January window. It's rubbish, and then apparently the rules are changing just before the summer or something, FFP again. So that's why they're saying that.
The rules, yeah.
Just in time for Man City's hearing, probably. So I don't know. I think we're just going to have to deal with what we've got. Because realistically, who is there that we could get? Like realistically, we ain't going to go and buy a 58-year-old Callum Wilson who gets injured every week. We ain't getting Benzema on 800 grand a week for a few months. So, and obviously Arteta must have his targets in the summer. And I think they'll just go out, like we've said, Liam, they'll just go out and buy a big striker in the summer, whether it's Tony, Osimhen, whoever. Don't have Jonesy's contacts. It might be Mbappe, maybe. I don't know if he ain't been to the Coronet, has he, or something? But, I ate out for his picture. And then obviously we're linked with Zubimendi. Like, I don't think we go for Zubimendi and Onana. It's one or the other for me.
Well, that's one that's gone quite Onana, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was another one, wasn't there? There was the Simons.
Yes, Simons, I would really like him.
Yeah. But I think there might be something. I think that I've heard. So I think it was Ornstein that was on Sky Sports today, and they asked him if you think that Arsenal will sign a striker. He said one of two things. He said that because we're so close to that FFP borderline, we don't want to do anything massive. He thinks that Raya might be one that comes in because obviously Brentford have signed another goalkeeper, haven't they? So he thinks that's where the money, that's the only thing we'll do, apparently, according to him.
I'm so glad he's got a journalist job. Like David Raya has been obvious for that since we done it. Like, and he's changed his mind because at the start of the window he said we weren't buying anyone. So like,
yeah, and we've got a couple that we've called back and sent back on loan, haven't we? But that's literally the only thing that like
Yeah.
we've done, and that's probably the only thing we will do, I would assume. Well, as long with everybody else as well.
We brought back Marquinhos, didn't we? Or was he gone again?
No, I think he came back actually. I don't
Came
think he
back
went
from
out.
wherever he was in France. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if he found someone else to take him.
I think it's been also. I think with this month, I think it's been quite lucky for the Premier League that there's literally not many fixtures. Like there is literally 2 fixtures in the whole month of January in the Premier League. So I think that's kind of, I'm not saying it's supporting teams in terms of FFP, but it might be the reason why teams have not kind of committed as yet, because the risk is quite low in terms of obviously the minimum amount of games they're playing. But yeah, I've never known a window like it. I've never known a window where there just is no speculation whatsoever.
Yeah.
But you look at the lower teams and you think, well, surely they've got to go out and do some business. Like I know we were talking about Crystal Palace earlier on. Like you think they'll need to go out and do some business. I know there was talk of obviously Eddie and Nketiah with them, but obviously you look at other teams as well, don't you? Like especially down the bottom, and you think they'll want to reinforce the window. Like we know Everton are pretty much restricted, isn't they, in terms of what they do? But yeah, it's a really weird window. And
it seems to be the whole of Europe as well, Liam. Does it? Doesn't just seem to be England, like Spain, Italy, Germany. There doesn't seem to be any club spending anywhere.
It's weird when you go online and normally when you type in Arsenal when it's transfer season, you've got about 600 players been linked. So actually, like when I go on like just on BBC News now, when I've sat on my lunch break, I thought, I'll see what's going on. Like, and there's literally nothing. You have to go on to the paper talk, and it's paper talk from like 2 days previous, and you're like, what's going on? Like, it's so weird. It doesn't even feel like if somebody said to you it's a transfer window, you go, is it really?
Yeah.
Man City signed someone today, haven't they? But that's literally the only.
Send them straight back,
Yeah, sent him straight back somewhere else. So. It's just so bizarre. Like I don't know what it is. I don't think there's a reason.
I think it says it all with the transfer window. When for me, the signing of the window is Breton Diaz going to Sheffield United on loan from Villarreal.
Yeah,
like that says it all. And Eric Dyer, like rolling back the years and going back with his boyfriend Harry Kane. Like I just think it's mad, like Mark said, all over Europe. Like no one's really buying, like because they've probably seen like what's happened to Everton and Forest and thought, oh no, like because if we broke one rule, Liam, we'd be out, we'd be like deported or something. Like
we'd be folded. They'd fold the club completely.
Yeah, like so.
Like don't get me wrong. Obviously, I wanted a big push going into the end of the season, ideally. But when you start putting your objective head on and you start looking at like the reason why I wanted us to do it this year was because I felt like, especially with the Champions League, I think there's a massive opportunity. There. But I do also think that if Partey and Timber come back, I think we could use Havertz up top. And I think that's the alternative for the end of the season.
So you could them as your push as well, though, couldn't you? Like I know you're not buying players, but Thomas Partey and if Timber can feature and Tomiyasu.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. They're 3 big players. They're 3 key players that will come back in and give us a push. Do you know what I mean? But
that's what I think we miss as well is Tomiyasu massively. Like I didn't big as it is, but just before, and I think he got injured, didn't he? And then he went to the Asia Cup, and I was like. Because for me, I like Ben White and obviously signing a new deal and that. But Tomiyasu, for me, this season's probably been one of our best players.
Yeah. I just sit there and I think that, well, if there is no one out there to buy, like the only ideal situation, there's been 2 ideal situations for me up top. If you could have agreed some kind of package that you pay for Raya and somehow get Tony through the door on a loan and kind of have Eddie and Nketiah part of that, would have been one of my kind of solutions, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think ideally Brentford really wanted him anyway. And I think really when you look at it, Ivan Toney's massive to Brentford, like staying up this year. And then you look at the Karim Benzema.
If Brentford were like 7th or 8th, they probably would have being more willing to talk about Tony or talk about the prospects of Tony. The fact they're 15th or 16th and looking over their shoulder
Yeah, exactly.
means they're kind of going, here, hang on here. We need to keep him if we're going to stay in this league. So,
Who do you want, Eddie Nketiah or Ivan Toney up front for you? Exactly. Do you know what I mean? To keep you up.
There's only one. There's only one answer in there. It's Eddie Nketiah. He scores. He scores.
I
He
hope his auntie ain't watching.
in the last minute.
But Sam, are you Eddie's agent by any chance?
I wish.
And you look at the Benzema one, and we're not going to pay them kind of wages. Do you know what I mean? And we don't make them kind of transfers. Like that's a transfer that Manchester United will make. That is a transfer that a club like Manchester United. We don't make them kind of transfers. So there's nothing in me that tells me that we'll start now. We wouldn't mind seeing the big man up front though, if it's just for half a season to give us a push. But I don't. I think if anything, Havertz gets pushed up there, and that's our solution between now and the end of the season.
I can't believe you don't all think Callum Wilson for 19 million is a steal. 19 million he was touted today. I think
it's interesting because when you said about Googling, I just Googled Arsenal and it's all Callum Wilson at the moment.
Is it?
Yep.
If we get Callum Wilson.
To be fair, honestly, I'd never thought I'd say this, but I would be happier with Eddie Nketiah. And I never thought I'd say that in a million years.
I can't go that far.
Because I'm on George's camp completely.
Yeah.
But
no.
Yeah, we're not
At least Eddie doesn't get injured every 2 minutes. Wilson, I'd say he's missed more games than he started for Newcastle this season.
I'd rather have Jonesy on one leg than Eddie Nketiah.
Jonesy's back from injury now. Back in the squad for Forest.
Did they, not Jonesy? Did they help you get on the right train, or did they put you on the wrong train after you said about him?
Technically, I was going to Meadow Park, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll put you on this train." And I've had the announcement say, "Oh, this train goes to Liverpool Street." I was like, "No, that's the wrong complete way."
Maybe did that on purpose after you said what you said.
Yeah, probably. I ain't going around for Eddie Nketiah's Christmas dinner, am I, or something like that? But and then some bloke went, "Oh no, you to get off this train," and he helped me off the train, and she was walking down the platform.
God's sake, shocking!
You gotta love it, you gotta love it.
Only
can happen to you, George.
I never laughed so much when I saw that tweet. I was just in stitches because I can imagine the situation. And when I was reading it to myself, I can imagine George actually saying it as well. So I was just sat there.
It was just the way her voice went. So she was saying, "Oh, do you go to the Arsenal games often?" I went, "Yeah, all the time." She went, "What do you think?" I went, "Oh, we just need a new striker. Eddie Nketiah who's just simply not good enough."
Well, at least you said it like that and didn't just say he's total shit.
I would have said your nephew's dog shit as well.
And then
so
they said
this is carrying on, and I was like, she went, "Oh, do you not like Eddie Nketiah?" I went, "No, not a fan at all." And she went, "Oh, that's my nephew, by the way." I went, "Well, he's still not good enough, is he?" If you're going down, you might as well just
you can't sit there and say one thing and then totally curb yourself just because
the facial expression that I can just imagine now. I bet she was looking at me like, "What an absolute twat," or something.
I remember just being an absolute stitches. Jade turned to me and said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Look at this. Just look at this." And then she started as well because I can just picture the whole scene without being there.
And then my dad's like, "You can't go anywhere. You're going to upset everyone."
Brilliant. Right, what we're going to do, I'm not going to talk about transfers no more because there is no transfers to talk about. And we just bored the life out of each other. So what I'm going to do for the remainder of the show is obviously just want a bit of your kind of update of obviously your kind of review of Arsenal so far this season and kind of your expectations going to the end of the season and where you think we'll kind of finish up. So I'm going to just fire some quick ones at you, all you guys. Just kind of, and then I'm going to ask you for certain ratings on certain players and kind of see what you kind of muster up. So I'm going to go to you, Jonesy, first. So I'm just going to throw a random one out there. Declan Rice.
Superb.
What would you rate him out of 10 at the moment for so far this season?
20. The guy is literally at times he's been the one that's dragged us through games. You know, the United game, he got the one to give us the lead. You know, the Luton, the game, he got us the winner. He's, you know, for a player that's just come in, he's arguing with some of the senior players, and you know that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's showing that he's new, and he's got high standards as well. I know he come from European Champions of the Galaxy, but he's still got them super high standards. And he's not afraid to tell players, you know, that have been there long standing. But he's dragged us through games. I literally am in love with him, to be fair.
Yeah, like to be fair, he's been incredible this season. I think when you start talking about players that win you certain points, he's probably won us at least 4 to 6 points already. In terms of obviously, firstly his goals, but also his performances as such. So I totally agree with you. I think he's been our standout player this season so far. I think there's a lot more to come out of him, but I think what I really feel sorry for him about is that he's playing in a midfield where no one else has got bite, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's a bit harsh on Havertz. I think he does try, but technically he's not a centre midfielder. And when you sit there and think he's playing in midfield with Havertz and Odegaard, I think I'm going to be totally honest. I think it's our big problem. I think midfield at present is a big issue for us. Like we was there Saturday. We're just slow.
Yes.
Like I can't tell you how slow we are at times, and they're just.
I just think the Havertz thing's not working. It's not worked. Like, just stop it now. You know, a bit like the party at right back thing. Use him as the second striker. Play him up top. Even on the wing, maybe some games. I don't know. Try it, but he's not good. He's not Xhaka. He's just not Xhaka. I don't know, as much as he wants him to be in that role, he's not going to do it. He's just not that type of player.
Going to go to you now, George, and give you a player. William Saliba.
I'm going to go 9 out of 10, just because I think he's a Rolls Royce. But I still think we've got a lot more to come from Saliba. I think when you see him playing in the games when he's quiet and doesn't have to do much, that shows the kind of quality he is. I do think he's one of the only, I don't think we have many of them, but one of the only world-class players that we actually have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, obviously with William Saliba, you know what you're going to get with him. Do you know what I mean? He is our big dog, as I'll call him, in that defensive four. Like the geezer, if he stayed at Arsenal his whole career, he'd end up being the best centre back of all time. That's how unbelievable, and that is saying something when you got Tony Adams. Do you know what I mean? Pardon?
And Igor Stefanos, don't forget.
And Igor Stefanos. It's a hard one. It's a hard one, but that's the ability what William Saliba's got. But I'm not sure that we'll have him at Arsenal for our whole career. But I think we're very lucky to have him, and we got to thank old Roll for one thing, and that was getting him into the club.
At least he done Sam, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go with you, Sam, now. Martin Odegaard.
I would say maybe a 7 or an 8, because he's not been at his best as what we've seen him. He certainly keeps the team together and keeps the team kind of ticking. But we've not seen his best, I don't think.
Yeah. I think it's been an interesting one for Odegaard this year. I think he's missed partying a Xhaka. I think when you start looking at that centre midfield now to what it was last year, I think that's our big issue this year. Now, I pretty much said a few weeks ago, I'm not sure the striker situation. I think George said it earlier on, and I agree with him. We need a striker, but I don't think it's the biggest problem in our game. I think that progression through midfield is where the problem is, and I just think the Xhaka partnership was as solid as it comes, and then probably the most solid centre midfield that we've had for quite a few years. And when you take both of them out, and then you put someone in like Declan Rice, but then let him have two centre midfielders that really got no bite to them, I think you're always going to struggle a little bit. And
what the midfield reminds me of, I don't know if you guys agree, is do you remember when Smith Rowe and Odegaard both each other, and it just didn't work? Yeah. That's what our midfield at the moment with Kai and Odegaard next to each other reminds me a little bit of. I know they're completely different players, Smith Rowe and Havertz, but it's the same sort of mentality for me.
Yeah, I just don't think we got a whole. I don't think we got a whole team
No.
to play that way. You've got to have a whole team to play that way. You look at Man City; they've got a whole team to play that way.
Yeah.
They've got the fullbacks. They've got the fullback. Well, to be fair, they had the strength on the bench. They've sold it. To be fair, over the last year, but they've got the striker. They've got the geezer who's going to score 30, 40 goals if De Bruyne's fit. They've got De Bruyne, do you know what I mean? Who's incredibly, unbelievably superb. And then they've got people like Bernardino Silva, do you know what I mean? Like Rodri. They've got the right players to be able to play that way. I just don't think that we've got the right players to be able to go and play that way at the moment. And it is a shame on Emil Smith-Rowe. It's a massive shame because I did want to see him in there with Odegaard. But I think, like you said, and I think Arteta knows, I just don't think he trusts it. And I think by watching, I can see what he thinks a little bit, even by watching him on Saturday. I think he thinks that Emil Smith-Rowe will leave us too open.
Yeah. I don't think Arteta trusts most of the squad, if I'm honest. I think he's like 11 or 13 players. And that's why we see Saka playing week in, week out. Because let's be honest, Saka's been awful recently. Like, he don't trust Reece Nelson for me. I just think Arteta knows he trusts the same people, which you can criticise him for that. But has he got a point? I don't know.
Well, he has, but the way he's managed Saka this year, I thought was like I've got two issues with the way he managed Saka this year. Like the North London derby was inexcusable, mate. To have an injured Saka playing right back in the last 10 minutes and not substitute him to the 92nd, 93rd minute. Yeah, it was absolute crazy behaviour. And then to start him in at Lons, he didn't need to do that. I know he started off well, but then he went injured. He didn't start him in that game.
Yeah.
And maybe we've been brainwashed to think that Saka has to play.
Yeah.
Well, Saka didn't play against Manchester City. Guess what happened, boys?
Yeah.
We beat Man City for the first time in 7-8 years.
Yeah. That's what I mean with Nelson. Like I've been a critic of him. I've just said I don't think he's good enough. But
He's not.
How do we know without him having a proper like?
He's never had a run of games. Reece Nelson at this club has never had a run of 3 games.
Yeah, so like we know. Do you get what I mean in that sense? That Saka, there's games when Saka shouldn't be playing or he should have gone off. Like realistically, would I have played Saka against Palace? Probably not. Like, if that's not a game for someone like a Reece Nelson, like you said about Havertz up front, and that sounds really disrespectful of Palace, but I don't mean it to be, but I just don't. I don't know. Like you said,
Yeah, you've got to protect your best players, haven't you, at all costs? And we don't
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Like, we just don't.
We didn't protect Saka last year, though, did we? Let's be honest. Like there was opportunities last year.
Arteta mentioned something last year about I was talking about Saka. We talked about the top players playing 70 games a season. Okay, between internationals and club games, it's like okay, fair enough.
There was a World Cup on top of that as well, wasn't there?
Like it was World Cup in the middle of the season. Yeah,
we had a World Cup, we had Europe, we had obviously. I know that obviously we got knocked down by Sporting. But there was games, mate, between February and March that he could have rest Saka. Bournemouth at home. He could have rest Saka in that game. And now I know we scraped through in the end.
Yeah, the way it worked out, yeah.
The way it worked out. But that was a perfect opportunity to rest Saka. There was more games that he had potential to rest Saka, but he didn't. And he won.
Was it Leeds where Saka started on the bench and we're 3-1 up or 3-0 up and he still brought him on? You're like, why? You know, we're cruising this game. There's absolutely no need.
And to win things, you have to use most of your squad.
Yeah.
You don't ever win things playing the same 13, 14 players.
No.
Eventually they'll break down.
I do feel sorry for Saka. He literally gets battered every game. He's on the floor and you just think to yourself, you just want to pick him up and give him a hug. He's kicked the shit out of. We've seen it. Look at the Palace one. You know, who is it? McCarthy literally tried to slice his legs off. But yeah, he's probably the most foul player in the Premier League now, I think, under Grealish.
The thing is, the last few, I think Arteta has tried to bring in players that would allow him give Saka a rest. He's been linked with Rafinha, linked with Neto, hasn't been able to get either of them in the door.
No.
But so realistically, when you look at it, Saka's our only left-footed attacking player that we have.
Yeah.
other than Odegaard. So the only left-footed winger we have that can play from the right is Saka. So basically, when Arteta looks around, I have no like-for-like replacement. If I want to bring someone in or rest him, I'm going to have to change the way we play. So I would say that would be another player or another type of player he looks at in the window. Well, like Rafinha, I think is done, but whether it's someone like an Elise or a Neto, if we can get one of them in, that will allow us to actually just go, do you know what? I have a player here who I can actually just put in for Saka without having to change anything at all, and we just run with it. I think that's one of the things. Against City, we were going to be on the back foot most of the game anyway, so it probably didn't matter who he played out there, but I do think it is something that he will need to address in the summer. Both of our wingers are kind of inverted wingers, so they play a right footer on the left and a left footer on the right. We've no other left-footed attacking option in the squad, so it is something that needs to be addressed.
I think between now and the end of the season, now we need to trust Jesus out on the wings, and give him the game time. I think Jesus at the moment, for me, is not doing enough centrally up top to warrant to play there, but that could be said for quite a number of players.
Yeah, our attacking players have been poor.
I think Trossard at the moment is our best finisher at the club, but I've been pretty critical of the way he starts games at the moment, and that needs to change. And it would be nice to see Trossard get a run of games, to be fair, to see if that kind of changes, because I think, again, like he was doing really well last year, weren't he? And then Jesus come back and he was just taken outside, just like that. So I don't really know what to expect with Trossard. I think that's the problem we got at the moment with half this team. We don't know what to expect each week. Like none of us know what to expect against Nottingham Forest on Tuesday night.
No.
None of us could sit here and say, could we? Like, we're going to go and do this on Tuesday night.
No.
Not with any degree of confidence at all.
And that's the problem. And I'm going to give you the next one, Saka. Mark, I'm going to give you, what do you rate him? Because his stats are matching up this year.
Yeah, his stats look quite good, but the eye test, you're like, no, he's not at the same level he was at last season. I'd say 6 or 7, but then that's comparing him to the incredible standards he set last season. So possibly a bit unfair, but again, I don't think any of our attacking players are above a 7 this season so far. I don't think any of them have played to anywhere near the level they got to last season. So that's I suppose where we're at. That's partially due probably to the style of play we've changed. Definitely we've changed the style of play we have compared to last season. But we just seem much slower and trying to play more controlled football rather than actually going after teams this season. But yeah, I don't think any of our attacking players can say they've played at a level above a 7 out of 10 this season so far.
In terms of kind of Jesus, Jonesy, what would you give him so far this year? Because I think he's been very disappointing compared to where he was at the start of last year. Do we think injuries played a part?
Yeah, definitely injuries played a part with him. For me, barely just gets a 6, to be fair. And that's, half of it to do with lack of being fit and being in the squad. But sometimes his finishing is terrible. I mean, the finish against United, you can see, that was great. He sat that guy down and sent him for a hot dog. But other than that, he's missed some of the chances. He's missed headers and, point blank range shots. It's just been, it's not good enough. If he wants to be that number 9 up front, that's what you say, put him on the wing. He played there for City. When they had Aguero, Jesus was on the wing, on the right side of the wing, and Aguero was in the middle, I know we ain't got an Aguero, but still, he can do a job out there if to give the likes of Saka a rest and, maybe on the left with Martinelli. But it's such a difficult one because he can be so good and he brings other players into play. So it's what he does as well off the ball, the runs he makes, the space he makes, the hold-up play. He's got a trick in him there and there, and the fans love a trick. But it's just frustrating when you want that goal-scoring finishing, Jesus. It's just not there.
Yeah, I still...
It's just barely a 6, to be fair.
I still hold that miss against West Ham against Jesus.
The header.
Yeah.
West Ham, have you not thought about the Spurs game?
Yeah, there you go. See,
the Spurs one.
I tried to.
The Spurs one was. I actually put it on stage.
Tried to kick the letter off the ball. Yeah.
I actually put the Spurs game on today. It's a bit of a weird one, like old Bobby's loving the North London Forever song. So I thought I'll show you a good one. And I ended up watching about 60 minutes of that game. And we battered them in the first 35 minutes. And Jesus, that chance, it was totally inexcusable that he smashed that over the bar. Yeah. When you see that, when you see the chance, and it cost us the whole game. And this is the difference, isn't it? This is what we're saying, where we're saying that the difference can be between basically winning the league and not winning the league, or finishing in a position to not finishing in a position that we need a striker who's going to take them chances. And I think, like you said, it's just been a bit of it's been like that all season, hasn't it? In terms of all the players, it seems to stemmed into all the players that we've tried to play up there centrally. Like I think Eddie just doesn't get chances. But then I was sitting there thinking about Eddie in the first couple of games of the season. I thought, do you know what? He scored against Forest. He had a few good opportunities against Crystal Palace, and then he had won the penalty. But I think we've derailed as a whole team. And I think I looked at Saka at the Tottenham game, and he looked confident when he scored. I look at Saka now; he hasn't got the same confidence in him.
He hasn't scored for ages, has he?
And I think he needs a big moment, don't he? I think, and he's a great player. Don't get me wrong; he's been heavily taken out in games, and he's got no protection from the officials whatsoever. We know that, and he's had a few. I know he scored against Fulham, weren't it? But he nearly missed that.
And hit off him, didn't it? Rather than.
Oh yeah.
But he needs a big moment. I think Saka. I think the Champions League is where Saka's going to come back. Like he looked different gravy in the Champions League, and you look at the way teams set up against us, and they don't agree with like
Champions League is refereed a lot differently as well.
Yeah. They don't come to play a low block and sit. They fancy themselves, and I think that's where you're going to see the best of Saka again. Is probably when we get back into the Champions League.
Yeah.
So, but I totally agree. I think Saka's a 6. I think Martinelli's a 5. Oh God, I think Saka's harsh, isn't it? 6/7. But I think Martinelli, I think he's had a horrendous season. But hopefully, them 2 goals. He scored the big goal against Man City, didn't he? He did score the big goal against Man City, but I don't know what's happened with Martinelli this year. He was getting into, like, over the last couple of years, he was getting himself into positions, all like arriving late in the box and all that kind of stuff. Like you look at the Liverpool game last year, it's just totally chalk.
It's not as if he's missing a hatful of chances. He's just not even getting chances.
Yeah.
He's just
getting them now. Yeah.
Like I remember, I think of Martinelli as when he did that run at Chelsea. Like there was an energy about him where he just knew that he could take on anyone. Yeah. But this season for sure, he looks kind of unsure when he gets the ball a little bit as to what he needs to do.
Do we think it's because of our slow progressive play? I'm very much in the belief that I think this is part of the problem, how slow we are at times with the ball. Like Jonesy, we was there Saturday, mate, and honestly, I know we won 5-0, but it's probably the only 5-0 game that we've ever won. And like, you take Sheffield United out of the equation because they were just shit. Yeah. But you sit there and you think, we won 5-0, but I can't guarantee that we're going to go and win our next game because of it, because I just think the whole situation, the whole game was drab. But I just felt that we were so slow at times coming out of defence. And to be honest, until Jorginho come on, was when we started playing balls forward.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it looked, when he come on, we looked a bit more progressive in the midfield. Look at our best moment was that Raya when he threw it out. Quick, 10 seconds it took from his hands to the ball. I think Martinelli's he's held up. The midfield is holding up his runs and his play, You can see when Jorginho comes on, he played the pass for the last goal, didn't he? I think it was. He plays him in and he's got space to run in. I know Palace were dead and buried by then, but, he's still got to make the run and time it and stuff like that. But I think everything just stems from that midfield. It's the main problem. It's affecting everything. If you've took out Xhaka, we've lost Partey for the whole of the season pretty much, and you've stuck in 2 new players. As good as Rice has been, he still has to learn a new club. He has to learn the way we play. Havertz has come from. I'll keep it clean because we're all right for time, but I'll keep it clean. He's come from that mob, and it's 2 new players that have had to gel into that midfield with Odegaard, and it's just not not clicked at all, and it's just affected.
We've
everything.
gone from like being really unpredictable in the way that we played last season to being so predictable it hurts this season. Like that's the reason why we were on that run of form where it was shocking, because they knew that all that was going to happen. It's the same game plan. It's go from defence to midfield, go from midfield to Saka or Martinelli, and then they'll whip the ball in and hopefully somebody will be there. That's literally been our only game plan this year. So he does really need to change it up, because if we start playing like that in the Champions League, then teams are going to find you out. Like, and we've been quite lucky to not be found out before we had that little run of like bad run of form as well. I think
if I was Mikel, I think at the moment I'll be giving, and this is nothing against Declan Rice, by the way. This is what I think he needs to do. I think I'll be showing him videos of like just saying to him, just monitor kind of what Xhaka's done for the last couple of seasons on that left number 8 role, and just try and do that for us for the rest of the season. If Partey stays fit, just go and do that for us for the rest of the season. And I think if he does that, and we can get Declan Rice playing out there, I think the whole complexion changes, because I see Thomas Partey. He's nowhere not the same kind of player as this player I'm going to mention, but what he does is this player who I'm going to mention used to make things happen half a second quicker with Santi Cazorla. So you get the ball to Santi Cazorla, mate. He could play on the turn, mate. He could find someone half a second quicker. Once he got injured, Ozil's game went to shit. Walcott's game went to shit. Sanchez was Sanchez. Do you know what I mean? But he was the man who made that happen. And I think Thomas Partey is the same, because how quickly he can play through the lines and how quickly he can play on the turn, I think makes things happen much quicker for us.
It's not just that as well when you've got him playing. It's the fact that he knows what his role is, and he sits behind, most of the time, the halfway line in cover of that defence. So that allows then Ødegaard doesn't have to track back as much. Declan Rice doesn't have to track back as much. Your wingers don't have to track back as much, because you know you've got that sort of extra defender in the middle there, because that's all he does, just literally in the middle of that pitch, just controls and makes sure that's his. So it actually gives a lot of the other players more freedom to do what they want to do as well, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, so with the striker and the midfielder thing, like I said earlier, everyone's obsessed with a striker. But from last season, I might be wrong. I don't remember having a centre forward who scored 20 odd goals last season. We had Saka and Martinelli. If Saka and Martinelli are scoring, Liam, now, and we're top of the league and all that, and still with a proper midfield, I don't think people go on about a striker, because they didn't last season.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I think, like we've just said, I think it goes to the way that we played last season as well. Like, I think we were that good in all areas of the pitch that we didn't really need that striker as such, because everybody was getting goals. Whereas now we've only got a few people getting goals, we're starting to notice it a bit more, I think.
Yeah. I think it was always going to be the way, weren't it? If Martinelli and Saka stopped scoring goals and Ødegaard weren't getting into the positions.
Might have to put Gabriel up front.
Yeah. I honestly think I think he's going to have an impact. I think we'll end up playing him at some point.
Yeah,
I said the same with Jesus on the left. I think that will end up happening as well more often. I think, like, you've got to look at it. The best teams have a. Sometimes you don't need a Martinelli to start. Sometimes you just need him to come on for half hour. And I bet you, yeah, right. He Saturday night was brilliant last week, because he came off the bench, scored 2 goals, and he made a massive impact. Sometimes you don't need him playing 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? You just need him to burn the absolute fucking arse out of a fullback who's been running around for 60 minutes as it is. And you know as well as I did, Martinelli gets behind him, it's game over. It is literally game over. And I think we've got to do that more often. And I would do that with Saka as well. I would do that with Saka. I would do that with Martinelli in certain games. Just say, look, do you know what? Sit down, have a rest, go on 60 minutes, and I'll guarantee you it'll improve your confidence. And
yeah, we've got the cover now, haven't we? Like, before we didn't have the cover, so we had to play them. But now we have got the cover, we need to use it. Like,
yeah,
for example, like a lot of the players that City have got, they can spend 70, 80 minutes just not being in the game at all. But that 5 minutes when they make an impact, they make an impact to win the game. Like, that's the sort of players that we've got in Saka and Martinelli and Trossard. To be fair, Trossard's one of these players that can come off the bench and grab a goal when needed. So we need to start using them a little bit more to the strengths that they've got.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're just doing that in the Premier League games. I think in Champions League, just go out Saka and Martinelli. Just go out Saka and Martinelli in Champions games. But I think in the Premier League games, do you know what I mean? I think give Saka a game on the bench, man. Say to him, look, see what you can do in the last half hour. Like, he ain't done Martinelli any bad, and I bet you he's a much more confident player this week than he was at the start of last week. Yeah. But you can imagine, I'm just sitting there thinking, if Saka comes on, half hour left into a game, and the fullback sees him come on, you ain't going to be happy, are you?
No,
you're not going to be happy, mate.
With a Balogun comment, I think we'd have been, honestly, again, it's another player like a Reece Nelson that we didn't really give any chances. But I certainly know now that if you had Eddie Nketiah alongside Balogun and you said you can have one and not have the other, I know which one I'd be choosing because there's potential in one of the players. But we know Eddie's limit, unfortunately. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player. But he's just not a player for Arsenal Football Club. He's a player for, I don't know, a mid sort of table team.
Yeah.
That he'll score loads of goals for. Yeah, like a Palace. Or...
Yeah, I don't know about Balogun because, he's gone. Where'd he go? Monaco, didn't he?
Monaco, yeah.
He's missed loads of penalties. I don't think he's actually done as well as he did when he was out there before.
No, he definitely hasn't.
I don't think he's amazing. I was just thinking if we had that option, that was all I was thinking. Because
I think we've done well to got the money what we got for him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the attitude, I think, was Balogun's biggest issue.
Yeah.
For me, we get similar amount or a bit more for Eddie than we got for Balogun. I don't know. I get we didn't try him, but
yeah, I think it was always about reading between the lines, though. Even when he was coming up through the ranks, his attitude was always a problem. I don't think it was just that kind of the period when he got sold. I'm pretty sure before he was always causing a bit of trouble.
2 penalties in one game, so I'm glad I didn't have an FPL.
He scored 4 goals so far this season for Monaco. It hasn't been great. He's only played 15 games.
Well, we're going to do 3 more players.
Gabriel's nearly scored as much as him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do 3 more players. I'm going to give George the good one. David Raya.
Yeah.
Sheila.
Just for my faithful followers on Twitter, David Raya. 112. No.
Just to wind up all the your comments will be your mentions will go through the roof if you do that, George.
I'm gonna go 7, and the only reason why, because I think he's had to part with a lot. Like the fans, and some of the fans are never gonna like him because his name's not Aaron. And I don't actually think he's made some mistakes in goal, but I remember Ramsdale doing that. But I think there's been some games when he's been alright. I don't. Maybe 7's a bit high. 6. It's between 6.5. I don't actually think he's been that bad. I don't think he gets much credit for that goal on Saturday. When that's quick thinking from Raya. Ramsdale doesn't do that, and this is what winds me up, Liam. We have to have a conversation. It's basically Ramsdale versus Raya when it's annoying because the way Ramsdale's been painted is it's like prime David Seaman. Just because he shows a bit of passion and nicks a bauble off a Christmas tree. I don't know, but I think Raya's done all right. I say 6, 6.5.
I don't like people that do 6.5. So there's not a number called 6.5.
There is a 5 book.
No, I totally agree with you. I think Dave, I think my personal opinion that it has not been managed right from the get-go. I think he should have done a transitional period where Aaron played potentially the Premier League or the Cup games, including Champions League. And David played the other games, but it didn't happen like that. And he's basically put all these eggs in one basket. And it was if we're being honest, it's a big balls move by Mikel. I think that maybe pre-season kind of determined Aaron's kind of place within the team, because I don't think he was that good in pre-season. I do agree that I don't think there's much difference between both goalkeepers at the moment. It's an hard one, isn't it? It's an hard one. I don't really like that his dad's gone out and said what he has. I don't think it's a good look for Aaron, and you can imagine the effect that has on the club. But you've also got to think about the changing room at that point, and what do the players think? Has that had an impact in terms of the team ethic? Because Aaron's a massive personality. I love the guy. I think he's a brilliant personality, and you've got to ask yourself the question: every player is going to have an opinion within that squad.
Yeah. Reading between the lines, I don't think they're a massive fan of what's happened. I'm seeing quite a lot of stuff on. I know what you hear on Twitter is obviously not gospel, but I've heard a lot of different reports to say that they're not happy at all. See, the thing is, it's annoying because if one was massively better than the other, then we could stand back and go, do you know what? Then fair enough. But actually, I think this comes to the question of the players not performing as well. I think because he demanded more from the players, you could see him actually scream at the defence if they were out of position, or go to certain players if they weren't doing right. And I think they haven't got that with Raya, so they've been able to take their foot off the gas a little bit. And I think that's potentially maybe showing in some of the players, because you do see sort of like before Gabriel and Saliba, you'd never see one of them make a single mistake. Not that they do very often anyway, but you start to see that little bit of leakiness from our defence sometimes, which last season and the start of this season was fantastic. But that kind of tailed off after Ramsdale got dropped and Raya came in. I'm not saying that Raya is a bad goalkeeper. I don't think that at all. But I think there's certain things that he doesn't do that Ramsdale did really well. And there's certain things that Raya does that Ramsdale didn't do very well. So it's a really tough one.
I don't think it's a massive.
If we could merge the two of them, we'd have a really good goalkeeper.
Oh, for sure.
He said about Gabriel last season. I swear I remember Arsenal fans moaning about the mistakes that he made.
Yeah.
I think start last season, Gabriel didn't have a great start last season.
I'm not inclined to agree with the shouting with the defence, because Ramsdale was in goal and Gabriel had a dodgy start at the start of the season. But I don't think it's like all the talk in the media don't help it. Like people saying, "Oh well, I don't know if players are happy." Like, no offense, none of us know. Unless
I agree with you. I hate the way before every game, it's nearly a referendum. Who's starting goal this week? And we all know who's going to start.
It should be a topic now.
We all know.
That's not going to change. That's not going to change now.
And I think Arteta probably knew this when he bought Raya, and he probably should have been more upfront about it.
Yeah,
in the press, and just going, look, I'm after bringing him in because I believe he's a better goalkeeper.
Yeah,
I felt like I needed to improve the goalkeeping situation.
If he'd have done that, I think there wouldn't be. If he'd have come out like you've just said and said, "This is the goalkeeper that I believe can take us to the next level," then I don't think there would be this debate, because we just have to deal with it. I think it's because we didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah,
but it's a shock.
I think there's a couple of bits to it. Like, I think people forget that Arteta wanted David Raya before he even wanted Ramsdale.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
That's what I was going to say.
I
just think. Go on, sorry.
And a big controversial point: if Aaron Ramsdale was not an English international, I don't think everyone would go on about it as much.
Yeah. And I was just gonna to highlight on the point that Ramsdale doesn't do himself any favors, like you said, Liam, his dad. And then I keep reverting back to that interview. I think he had, I can't remember, it was the old goalie who used to play for Watford. I can't remember his name. On his podcast. Yeah, that's it. He said that he can't concentrate for 90 minutes. That's why he has banter with the fans and tries to do a bit. I just think if you're saying that, and Arteta, the way Arteta is and the way he drills players into winning and focusing for the full 90 minutes, you're just not doing yourself any favors at all.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Well, But I mean, with my point about Ramsdale, if like he's very people defending whatever. So earlier this season, I think we played Brentford, and he made an horrific thing, and I think Declan Rice saved.
Bailed them out in the goal line. Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah, the line.
fans saying, "Oh, but that's Arteta's fault." But like, how is that Arteta's fault if Ramsdale's made a mistake? I know, and they're like, "Oh, but he's ruined him." Like, I'm sorry. Ramsdale has this. I'm probably getting loads of abuse in the comments.
Not yet, George. Not yet. Keep going. Keep going.
Sheila's got a bed, mate.
If Ramsdale is such a mentality monster, just because he got dropped at the start of the season for someone, why is he not? Why is he not prove when he gets his chance that how much better, in his words, he's better than David Raya?
I think it's an interesting discussion. I think that's going to go on very long into tonight. The only thing I'd say in David Raya's defence is, can you imagine having to come into a club, into a team that the goalkeeper's a fan's favourite, probably a good egg around I've got no doubts that Ramsdale's a not a good egg around the camp. I think he is. And I think he's got quite a lot of kind of friends around the team. I think it's an all hard situation for David Raya. Like, I'm going to be totally honest, I don't really see a future for Ramsdale at the moment whatsoever. And I think that, I hate to say it because I love Ramsdale, but I think the sooner this situation is resolved, the better. And potentially, once that situation is solved, we then may see the best of David Raya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think he's in an awful situation at the moment. I honestly do. And I see it from both sides. I see it from Aaron's side. He didn't deserve to be dropped when he did. And when he did get dropped, I do believe that he should have been given more than what he was given. Like, I'd have been gutted if I was Aaron. But at the same time, I think David's got a lot of pressure on him whatsoever. And I think we'll see the best of him next season. When that situation's resolved, and Aaron's got to do the right thing for Aaron's got to do the right things for his career now. He's got to do the right thing.
Yeah, a lot of money for Ramsdale. I know if you're talking about selling him.
Yeah, I think we could.
30 million. That's rubbish. Like, he's an England international. He's on a new deal. I'd be expecting 50, 60 million at least.
Yeah, from how he. The problem is normally when you drop a player, he's normally like dipped in form, but he hasn't. So he still holds that value that we had him for an England international. Actually, then holds more because he didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, I think you're right, George. I think we should be aiming for that sort of money because that's what we don't tend to do. We don't tend to put this English tax on top. We tend to just get rid. But actually, we need to start now doing what the other teams are doing. Like your Man Cities, like your Man Uniteds.
You look
the money back that we think they actually are worth and not just giving them up for anything.
You look at Liverpool, they got shitloads of money for Brewster and Solanke. Like, I know it's doing right this season, but Brewster, does he still play?
And then Man City, you're looking at the lad that signed, what's his name? Oh, the young English lad, Cole Palmer. He went for an awful lot of money, didn't he? To
Chelsea.
To Chelsea for hadn't proved it at all. Where it's different, Ramsdale's proved it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a big fear in the summer. What that looks like, I don't know. I think the problem with us at times, though, is it's like the Emil Smith Rowe one, don't it? We don't sell at the right time. And then we end up dropping the valuation. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the same with Aaron, if I'm being totally honest. I think both of them, because they're not playing football, will end up dropping the valuation because of them. But, yeah, I just think...
The biggest mistake ever was Maitland Niles when Wolves offered 30 million for him. A couple of seasons later, he was out the door for nothing. So.
30 million we could have got him for, mate.
The only one we've done that really with is probably Iwobi.
Willock as well.
And that was a steal, wasn't it? Flipping heck. Like, that was...
Yeah, and probably Willock.
Right. Last two players, we'll quickly go through this because I've been going on for over 2 hours now. Quick one for you, Sam. Kai Havertz.
I'm going to try and not be I'm going to be trying and think of it as if I don't know. So I'm going to go. I don't think we can put him any higher than a 6, just because we haven't seen a great deal of him. I know he started off quite rocky, but that's still the confidence due to being whatever happened over there. But there's certainly the thing is there's certainly signs you can see why Arteta's thought, right, I can have this a bit as a gamble. So yeah, I think 6, maybe kind of a 7, just because of the impact he's made at certain times.
You're not trying to get the whole halves in again, are you? 6 and a half.
No, so I'm gonna go 7, just because he has made some important, he has done some really important things for us this season.
I think that should be a new thing, the new half thing. Like I can see that on Sky Sports on.
Mate, there ain't a half. There's no. I'm not having it. There's no half.
There is 1/2.
Paul let me do halves on this show.
I don't know if Bray realised the other day because I was supposed to go on the review, Mark. You all done your ratings. I refused to put a half in there. I said, I ain't having halves in there. I ain't no half. It's a 6 or it's a 7. Yeah, I think like my personal opinion on Kai Havertz is that I want to see him further up. Second half of the season when Partey comes back in, I want to see what he can do up there. I think sometimes, yet again, I think we're going to look at him as an impact player. I think we see it against Man City, what he can do coming off the bench. And it's another solution, isn't it, at times? I think at times, like, yet again, that he might need to just sit on the bench and get half hour in games when teams are tiring to get the confidence back up. But he's definitely got his uses for me. He's definitely got his strengths, but I just don't think the midfield at the moment is the right situation for him. And I agree with what someone said the other day. He's a good signing at the wrong time.
Yeah.
He's a good signing at the wrong time. He's a bit of a luxury when we need a bit more steel in that centre midfield. So,
striker. If we got the strikers who we want and the midfielders we want, and you add Havertz onto that, people say, "Oh, they've got a pack."
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine in games, right? Just say, I'll bring out Oshman or Tony's name up. Could you imagine if you last 15 minutes, right? You go in direct and you've got Kai Havertz, Oshman, or someone like Oshman up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at how much. The thing is that the thing that's frustrating is you look at how many chances we create. If we had a striker, it just makes it just so dangerous to play against.
Yeah. We had that striker, we'd be literally pretty much on the buzzer for a title, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the next stage. Right, last one. I'm going to throw it out there a little bit. Zinchenko.
Oh God.
4.
Oh dear.
4 or 5, yeah.
3.
2.
This
One.
This is for you to talk about, Mark.
Yeah. It's one of those in games where we're totally dominant. I think he's fine, and he does that role of going into midfield and setting up play there. But when we're on the back foot and he actually has to defend 1-on-1, he's really, really poor at it. Really poor.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he gets caught 1-on-1, you're always terrified it's going to be a goal. You know?
Yeah.
So. And he's in the team as a left back, not as a left midfielder or left winger. So he has to be able to defend better.
That's my opinion.
I still see him in the pub.
Yeah.
So
there is, I remember that Wolves game where we were absolutely cruising and he tried to Cruyff turn on the edge of his own box back of the net. And it's like panic stations here now for the last 10 minutes.
Do you think he has a long-term future at the club?
Yes, but because of who the manager is. I think Arteta's a big fan. Now, he might just be getting game time. None of us knows how this season was going to pan out if Timber had stayed fit.
Yeah.
None of us.
Yeah.
So Timber started the first 2 games, and Zinchenko was out injured, obviously. Timber started them as a left back. Whether that was what was in Arteta's thinking or in Arteta's planning all season, none of us will ever know. So
no, I don't think if Timber had, because obviously how he started off, I don't think there would have been any way for Zinchenko to get back in the team had he carried on with that form.
possibly as a midfielder, but that would have been it, where he plays with
I
Ukraine.
think Zinchenko takes that. He would have took the same role he had at Man City, personally. Like not starting many games. Because I think they brought Timber in as that inverted player, like whatever. And he was definitely what we wanted in that sense. But I don't mind Zinchenko when he goes forward. I just don't like him going back. So if you take defensive responsibility away, he can't really cause you any trouble, can he?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one with him. I don't think he's good enough personally. I've been pretty critical of him since that Chelsea goal last year. Like that, I totally lost my head on that one. That for a left back to stop and just watch that player steam into the box and do what he did. And for me, it's been once too often. What he does do well though is when he comes in, when he comes into that centre midfield, he does it better than anyone at the moment, and that's the bit that Mikel likes. But I think longer term, I think we know potentially Timber's going to play there unless we decide that we do get someone else and play Timber on the right. We don't know what that looks like. Like we only spoke about Ben White, and there's another player that apparently
He's just signed a new contract. So.
Just signed a 4-year contract, which is obviously great news. But yeah, I think Zinchenko stays in the club, but yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan, mate, whatsoever.
About Zinchenko, like you got to think that even when Tomiyasu was fit, he was playing left back as well.
Yeah.
So I just wonder. I don't know. I'm not Mikel, but if there's a chance that they might, because there's a lot of strong rumours they're looking at that Jeremy Frimpong in the summer. They
Leverkusen.
Him, Ben White becomes that other centre half, and then they have Tomiyasu and maybe Zinchenko, and Zinchenko's just like your fullback in the cup games. I don't think he's immediate future if everyone's fit is in that first 11. But I don't think they sell him.
The one I'd like to get in is the one from Ajax. Is it Hato?
Yeah, Joe Hater.
Yeah. I think
well, we have to wait for another year to sign him. Just can't sign him until he's 18 anyways. So.
Yeah.
Another Saliba.
Which I didn't realise until I read it today or yesterday. So.
But
another Saliba, that one for me. Like you get him, it's like they reckon he's like for his age, he's like probably the best at his age.
He's captained Ajax a couple of times as well, hasn't he? So that's it.
He's
When you're a 17-year-old being made captain of a club like Ajax, it says a lot about
big
you.
stuff.
He can play with Henderson now, can't he?
Yeah, he can. Yeah.
I do definitely think that Mikel Arteta's first game of the season, I'll keep going back to it, that he had a different plan, in my opinion.
He's not a right back.
No, I don't think Partey was the right back, but I think his plan is that someone from a right back role will go into that centre midfield role.
Yeah, rather than left back.
Yeah, he definitely wants that player to do that. But when you play Partey and Timber like that, it shows you, that I think he relied on Timber's kind of pace. He trusted that to play it there, and I don't think Timber's the option to get like that to go into that centre midfield role, even though he could do it. I think that he wants someone who can do that alongside Timber on the other side.
It's like the John Stones sort of role, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think like next year's a big year, isn't it? Like I think we'll see what happens in the summer in terms of transfers. But as I said, I think next year is the year when there is no excuses.
That's when there's no excuses, Liam. And like, I'm a huge fan. Like, and the amount of rows I have on a daily basis, it gets quite entertaining in the end. But but next season for me, I might be wrong, but isn't that like the last year of his 5-year plan as well?
Yeah, I think I echo what you're all saying. I think if nothing is to happen next year, then actually, because at the minute I'm like George, people are saying, "Oh, well, he needs to go now."
Yeah, they want,
But I'm then arguing against that because I've got reason to argue because of how much of a positive impact he's having everywhere. But come next season, we're still at this point where we haven't won anything. Then I don't think I'll have that many arguments still.
I struggle to have the argument about Arteta in a minute because their responses is that they want Mourinho. And
No.
Them people that want Mourinho would drop when they were a baby.
Yeah.
We got to remember as well, yeah, right. We went through. Well, we haven't really gone through the stage that much, but if you keep, I get why people get frustrated. Like, and we all get frustrated. Like Fulham, Liverpool, we're absolutely frustrated. I totally get the frustration. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, what are you doing? Like I'm still questioning, but then I have to realise that we invested into a young manager, and that's what we had to expect when we invested into him. But we can't Nick, like this year for me, I think there's been a couple of unfortunate situations, but next year, once we get another window under us, and I think it'll be another big window, we need to make the right purchases, and then we just need to go. We have to go, but going out in the third round of the FA Cup, going out in the fourth round of the League Cup is not acceptable for a club of our level. And I'm sure the club agree with that. I'm sure Mikel Arteta agrees with that. I'm sure he's not happy about it whatsoever. And I'm sure the players fucking know about it. Do you know what I mean? They will know about it. It's not acceptable. Like, we're a big club. Do I want to be sitting here this weekend watching everyone else play apart from us? It's awful. But yeah.
Saka said it, didn't he, in his interview? I don't know after what game. And they were saying about the FA Cup, and he was like, he was angry because, like,
he was.
First trophy I think he won was the FA Cup. So, yeah, I get Arteta has got a lot to, like, there's some mistakes he's made. I think people forget that he is a young manager and he's learning along as well.
He was very lucky to get this role at his age, with his qualifications in management. He was very lucky to get this role.
I think people just seem to forget what he's done, you know, like even not just on the pitch, in that dressing room, the shit he's cleared out, you know, the likes of the Ozils and the Kolosinaches and the Aubameyangs, the training facilities that are upgraded. He's got this, you know, even bringing in, I know people take the piss, even bringing in the dog, it's something different, you know, it's something these players have probably never experienced. And he won the FA Cup. You know, he's won Charity Shield. You know, they're not major trophies, but he has won stuff.
And he's got to challenge him, like.
Yeah, and you look at clubs like Man United, you look at Chelsea, and then do we want to go down that route? You know, changing managers all the fucking time, and I just think people seem to sometimes are so ungrateful with what we've got and what we're doing. It is a long-term plan. It's not FIFA. It's not Football Manager. You can't just automatically turn on a cheek to win a trophy. So it takes time, and you know, and I will give Arteta that time, and you know, I won't be calling for his head anytime soon because I just think what he's done, he's warranted himself time.
Yeah, it's not just that; it's these people that are saying, "Oh, get rid of him now."
Yeah, it's just
they were the ones that were saying that top four is not good enough, and that getting fourth place is not a trophy. But now we're actually challenging. They're now going, "Oh yeah, just get rid of him." Like it's just not good enough.
Because it's a hard dream to consistently finish actually in Champions League spots as well and title. Like they all go back to Emery, and I'm like, fuck me. Like I remember how depressing that was.
Yeah.
Like
the Premier League now is more competitive than it was when, you know, it was just us and Man United challenging for it. Chelsea come into the fold, City have come into the fold, Villa have come into the fold, Liverpool back. It's a hell of a lot of a different Premier League.
Only one team can win it every year, you know.
Exactly. You're lucky to finish fourth now. People say, "Oh, fourth is a trophy." It kind of is. You're lucky to finish there in this day and age.
Yeah.
So what happens when we finish fifth?
We get in the Champions League anyway. Get the extra place this year. Be grand.
Let me ask you a quick question. I know the time's pressure. Would you take fifth in the Champions League?
Would I take fifth and win the Champions League?
And win the Champions League. I know we still would qualify.
Absolutely, mate. If it meant we won the Champions League. Yeah, we won
Bite your hand off.
I'd give a right arm to win the Champions League.
But you just know some people will call for his head because we finished fifth. That's the problem.
I think we won the Champions League. No.
They'd be laughed at though.
Yeah,
I'm rightly so.
That now though, aren't they? Let's be.
Yeah.
But what's scary they are about? That's the problem.
They
are about.
Yeah, but are they really?
As George said, who's your ideal replacement for it? Bring in Mourinho, and you're also God Almighty.
There wasn't anyone else in.
You know.
I'll give my right arm to win the Champions League. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we have to hear it down the road from that West London mob all the time, mate. Like, like
if they can do it, anything's possible, isn't it?
Well, especially that ragtag rabble they won it a couple of years ago. You know, like for the bad City in the final.
Yeah. Who scored the winning goal? Havertz.
Yeah.
Might do it again, mate. You might be a second time.
Exactly.
Second time
Exactly.
lightning. Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for obviously your contributions this evening. Just obviously, it's been a great evening, and obviously, thank you to Charlie as well. It's been a great show. Obviously, I just want to thank everyone that's obviously been chatting on the stream. Thanks to Bray as well, who's been doing pretty much a sterling job in the background in terms of kind of raising the questions, but also supporting the chat. And obviously, we go on to, well, it's next Tuesday now. I'm sitting there thinking what we got this weekend. We got nothing this weekend. I'm a Maidstone United fan this weekend.
We're on we've a spectators brief this weekend. That's all.
I'm cheering on Maidstone this weekend. That's all I'm doing, guys. They got the mighty.
Well, there is one positive. You've got the women's on Sunday.
Yes, that's very true. That is very true.
And plus, Gladiators is on Saturday.
It takes me back.
No, but obviously we go on to Tuesday. Hopefully 3 points, and we can line ourselves up nicely for that bin dipping mob coming down to us. Can't wait for it. Anyway, have a good evening all, and see you all soon.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Have a good one.